Over the 273-273. Over the timing team, keep the time. Over the 273.
Okay. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is Danny Sheridan, First Group Battalion Chief, and we are actually live here at FDIC. So I hope if anybody's here or they're listening and they're enjoying the show, it always amazes me. I still cannot get my head around the enormity of this show. It's like the Super Bowl of all conferences, and it's always, for me actually, it's just humbling to meet all these other instructors who that teach all around the country and all these different departments. And looking at the camera, sorry, I'm so used to doing this. So anyways, it's very humbling actually to be around all these great instructors. One thing that I really enjoy the most about being in FDIC is that we get to share our stories from our different departments. And any department, I don't care if it's the smallest volunteer department to the biggest paid department, it's still the common enemy, so to speak. We're all always have the same obstacles. At a fire, it's always the getting the proper apparatus and the equipment and locating the fire and et cetera, et cetera. And it always just I guess humbles me to hear of how other departments do it, especially when they don't have the same resources that we have. So I'm here today. If you wanted to talk, we do have a call-in. The number is 760-454-8852. It'd be nice to hear from somebody. Sometimes I get a little tired of talking to myself, but we are here, and it's kind of funny. I did have a plan, and one thing that we do in the fire service is that we're supposed to have a primary, an alternate, a contingency and emergency plan. It's called PACE. We use an acronym, PACE. And my first plan was going to be a buddy of mine was going to talk and share his experiences with me from Portland and the stuff that we do in South America. And they changed his class from 10:30 to 1:30, so he was unavailable. And then I had my alternate plan was to use this other guy, and he's doing a class at 1:30. So my contingency plan was I met some guys that I work with in the FDNY, and I invited them up, and they just phoned me about a minute ago or so, and they said that they're unavailable. They're on the other side of the conference. So here we are, just me. So anyway, so it's I'm doing my class on Friday. I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing and what actually, I'll give you a little backstory on what drove the class. One thing that I find that we should do in the fire service, and really in life, you can apply this anywhere, is that I myself personally like to challenge myself and get out of my comfort zone. And I think you can apply that anywhere. You can apply that on the fire ground, in your personal life, if you're into working out, if you like running like I do, biking, I think it's just like a fire. Picture yourself in a fire, okay? My old captain told me this. I remember very early on when I got on the job, and he said to me, listen, there's only two things happening in a fire. He says, you're either putting it out or it's driving you out the door. He says, you're never really in the middle. You're never just kind of holding your own. And I think it's like that with everything in life. I've been doing this this one class that I'm very comfortable with. Well, actually, I've been doing this 11 or 12 years now in FDIC, and I'm always amazed that I'm coming back here. But you know, I started out with my my comfort zone, what I'm really good at, which was working in firefighting in high-rise fireproof multiple dwellings. I worked in South Bronx, 17 truck, and that was basically our bread and butter operations. Went to a lot of fires in the projects. I felt really good at it. But you know, after a few years, it was like, okay, you've done this class 3 or 4 times. They got to be tired of hearing it. So I decided to develop another class. I got promoted. I think I did that class when I was probably still a captain. I got promoted to battalion chief in 2008, and then I learned some stuff out on a wildland fire. I was out in, I want to say it was Idaho. It was the first deployment with the New York City Fire Department's IMT, which I'm a part of. Now I'm an operations section chief. And we went out, and it was kind of funny because, you know, here we got this, like, you know, this biggest New York, you know, the New York City Fire Department working on a wildland fire. So we sent out a team of, I guess it was 50. And I'm in operations. There was a handful of us in operations, and I'm now a brand new battalion chief working in a wildland fire as a div suit. So, you know, I remember like the first few days going out, and I had a guy that was a regular forest fire guy, and we were basically trainees or just kind of shadowing to learn about the incident management ICS. Because after 9/11, you know, everyone was around for that time, realized that we were pretty much overwhelmed, and we had to bring in some outside help, and they set up this incident command system, which we were totally unfamiliar with. It was just totally foreign. So I learned about the incident command system working as a div soup on this wildland fire, and it, you know, for me, it was a no-brainer. I thought it was like magic. You know, I couldn't believe that this, you know, was such a great way to run and manage a large-scale operation. So, you know, after that experience, there was an operations chief on that fire. His name was George Custer, and he actually is a descendant of George Custer from, you know, from the Army back in the West. And you know, he had this this way of managing, and he had this like 13 I can't remember, 11 points of a good commander, a good incident commander. And I made a photocopy of it. And what I did was I developed a class around that concept. And fire engineering brought in, and I taught the class, and you know, it went over pretty well. And I did that for a few years. And then that kind of became my comfort zone. And I said, well, now I have to challenge myself again because, you know, I've done that so many times. So I came up with this kind of hybrid class, and I called it the first new battalion chief, because now at this point I had been battalion chief for probably about 5 years. I guess this was back in about 2012 or so. And I came up with that class, and again, it was just, as you do these things, you keep getting more information, you talk to more people, and you just keep getting more slides, and get rid of some old slides, and you just keep tweaking it, and then, you know, so this year, I had given that class out for 3 or 4 years, and, you know, I said, I have to challenge myself again. I said, I just, you know, if I just offer this class up again, they're probably going to reject it because it's been done, you know, now 3 or 4 times, and, you know, I think that the way fire engineering FDIC works is that they're always trying to stay on that kind of cutting edge. So I had, let's say, an incident that happened, I want to say it happened about 3 or 4 years ago. And I had this fire in a hospital, and I actually wound up writing an article about it. It was printed in the magazine, not on the internet. Because most of my articles do go on the internet, but this particular one was used for the magazine. And what had happened was, how do I explain it? It was one of these situations that you never want to be in as a chief, where I felt when I got on that scene that I was really not in my comfort zone, that I was a little bit in over my head. And I was very, very fortunate at that fire that there was already a mechanism in place that was a great help to me, and that the dispatcher that was working that day, I don't know if anyone's familiar with the FDIC dispatchers, but we have this like iconic dispatcher. His name's, we call him the Bobby the Beef. And guys that listen to the FDNY's radio on the Bronx would know Tree Trio, as he calls himself. And then Bobby, I actually knew Bobby from when I first got assigned to 17 Truck. He was, he was actually kind of raised in that firehouse. He lived on the block, and he was, he was the, I guess, I don't know if he had a father, maybe, I'm not sure what his situation was at home, but I know that they adopted him as like as a stepson, like he's an adopted son. And he basically spent a lot of time in that firehouse. When I got there, he was part of that firehouse, and he would show up at fires, and he got very involved with the firehouse. So he's very, he had a lot of knowledge about how the system works, and it was just a real blessing that he happened to be working that day, because I didn't know what I had going on. I had this hospital with a tremendous amount of smoke. It actually came in, I can vividly remember how that day went. I was sitting in the office. It was around 12 o'clock, and I guess we were just waiting for lunch, and we got a very nondescript phone alarm for older. It was just a street box with no address, and I didn't think much of it. I didn't really know what was up there. I had an idea, that there might have been a hospital on that block. And as we got in the car and as we were going to the box, I got a phone call from the dispatcher informing me that we were now getting reports of a fire in a hospital, and that the EMS people were reporting heavy smoke in the ER, emergency room. And I looked at my driver and I was like, wow. Wow. Like, I'm not, like psychologically, I wasn't like kind of ramped up for that. And, when we got to the scene, all I remember, there was hundreds of people in the street. They were just self-evacuating, and there was a tremendous amount of smoke in the street, and there was a lot of smoke pumping out of this one vent that was in front of the building. And I didn't know what I had, but I do remember saying to the, dispatcher, I said, listen, this is the battalion. I said, I want to transmit 1075 means all hands. I don't know what I have. So that being said, the dispatcher, this guy Bobby the Beef, he took it upon himself and he bumped up the alarm to what we call a 1076. And that was my saving grace. So a few good things happened at that fire. We had the proper signal given, which bumped it up to a second alarm. And the other good thing that happened is that the hospital had initiated their own Mayday type of situation where people were where they set up this whole evacuation. So while this is going on, I got a report from one of the firefighters informing me that it was just a rubbish fire. And I don't know what possessed me to think this, but I thought to myself that this is not a rubbish fire. There's more to it. And I discounted it, and then I overheard another transmission between the first two engine and his nozzle man, and he's saying we got a heavy smoke condition, we got to start a line. And then I heard the truck officer call his chauffeur and said, bring the search rope down here. So I knew that we had something serious going on. And then I actually interjected at one point when I said, listen, when I heard that the generator was on fire, I said, I want you to search a phone line. So, fast forward to the end, wound up being, we evacuated 165 people, we lost power. There were people on life support machines that lost power. We had to do all sorts of battery backup. And one thing about a hospital, it takes like 4 people to evacuate one person. It was surgeries going on. It was just a lot going on. And I was like totally unprepared. I did not have the tools in my toolbox to deal with what I had to deal with. So anyway, before I go any further, again, the number is 760-454-8852, and we can talk about anything you want to talk about, but I'm going to continue. I'll continue with the story. So at the end of it, it went well. I actually had some off-duty guys that stretched without any protection, fire protection, any PPE, a phone line, and they were very instrumental in putting the fire out. So that, I don't know. I think sometimes you can even say ignorance is bliss, because I don't even, if I had to really, at that moment, know the full impact of what was going on, I think I would have froze. But I was on autopilot. I just was able to keep my head about me. I was making good decisions, and I had good people that had my back. Deputy came in. I had the 1076. I had more units coming in. I had the dispatcher who was totally on his game. You know, he was able to fill in, you know, where I kind of dropped the ball, and, you know, was successful. So it's taken me a while, and even still, I still sometimes I think about that day and like how crazy, you know, that was. You know, we're in the north of the city. There's not many units up there. You know, people like they think that New York, man, you guys got so much help, and you know, you never have any problems with manpower. Well, let me tell you, I was on the Westchester border, and there's not many companies up there, and we had a 10 or 11-story hospital filling up with smoke, and we had an out-of-control fire in the basement. Okay, so we had a diesel, you know, the diesel was spilling out, it was on fire, and we had a very serious fire. And just the fact that no one got hurt, there was no injuries, no one killed, it just amazes me that we got through that. But you know, one thing, and it took me a while to digest this, but I'll say this probably happened about a year ago. I got a phone call from the local Department of Corrections, and we have a prison barge at the end of our response area down on the river. And what it is, it's a barge that's probably 100 feet by like 1,000, let's say. And this barge houses 1,000, let's say not 1,000, maybe let's say 800 inmates. And below decks, there's storage for 80,000 gallons of diesel fuel. And there's 4 huge generators, similar to what is in the hospital. So I decided that, like when I was asked by him to come and take a look, I realized, I said, I went back and thought about this fire that I had, you know, in the hospital. And, you know, you always, in anything in the fire service, you always have to, you know, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And I'm thinking to myself, like, what could be the worst thing that could happen? And we could get a major spill on fire with 800 inmates locked in their cells, you know, on this flimsy barge that has no ventilation. You know, the standpipes don't work, I mean, all this stuff. So over the course of the last year, we've been working with them. You know, there's a whole process. I'll get into it when I do the class, but it's actually a whole process. And what I'm looking at is like, how do you, as a chief or even an officer or even a firefighter that lives in a small city or a big city, it doesn't matter where, you have a hospital, a school, a large department store, a jail, anything that would be like a high hazard, like you have to think like, well, what would happen if we had a fire in this place? Like, do we have the ability to handle a fire in a place like this? Like where I live up in I wouldn't say the suburbs, but we live in a very smallish town, about 60 miles north of New York City. And we have a volunteer fire department. I mean, you know, we don't get many fires, but we do have a hospital, and we have a school, And I wonder, and we actually have I would like to talk about this in my class too. Is like we have a 3-story apartment house, and even though where I work, that's a everyday bread and butter operation, it may not be in your department. So what I'd like to do is just raise the awareness. Like what I'm hoping for people to do, what firefighters to do is to actually look at their response area and say, hey, like it's like that commercial, like what do you have in your wallet? Like what do you have in your response area? What's the one that causes you to lose sleep at night? What are those buildings in your response area that make you go like, whoa, like what's going to happen if we get a job in this place? Because even when I was working in the Bronx, we had places that we knew that if we had a job in these places, it was going to be a problem. And we weren't as sophisticated back 30 years ago like we are today with computers and Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff and technology and whatnot. But we did have what we had what we call a SIDS card. And that's about as good as you could get. So, anyways, what we're going to talk about on Friday, what I'm going to talk about on Friday, is just basically doing an assessment of your response area and seeing what box you could put that structure in, whether it's a big strip mall, if it's a school, if it's a nursing home. I mean, I've had fires in my career. I've had fires in nursing homes. I've had 4 hospital fires. I had 1 as a fireman, 1 as a lieutenant, 1 as a captain, and 1 as a battalion chief. And let me tell you something. Like the other flip side of this too is that when you get these calls, and they usually come in as we call like a class 3 or how do I describe it, like a recorded alarm or an alarm system. Your first thought process, the first thought process is, oh, we're gonna have a raging fire in a hospital. The thought process is it's probably a water surge or someone was smoking, or you always think like, it's probably nothing. So what I've found, like especially with these hospital fires, is that the hospital still has to function as a hospital, and you still have to deal with the fire. Like I know the first one that I had when I was a fireman, it was Lincoln Hospital on 149th Street, and I was amazed that we had a room with a patient in it. She must have been smoking in the oxygen port. We had a fire out into the hallway, and there was a smoke door that went down, and people were still up doing their rounds, and doctors were walking around with clipboards, and I could see them. We could actually see through the smoke, through the doors, the hospital still functioning. The job that I had when I was a lieutenant was a nursing home, and you don't expect to have a fire in a nursing home. And it was just, you go up and someone got in there, they lit a few beds up, and you have all these elderly people trying to evacuate. The other fire we had came in. I was actually working as an acting battalion chief. I wasn't even a chief yet, and it came in around the change of tours, we call it, like 1800. It's actually around 5:30 or so, and class 3 came in as a recorded alarm. I was up on the Grand Concourse, and I was fully expecting to see if the valve reset, and I hear this transmission on the radio. Ladder, to OV, take the windows. I just was like, I looked at my aide, I was like, did he just say take the windows? He said, we got a heavy fire in the kitchen. And wow, it's like going from 0 to 60, like it's on. And we had surgeries going on. And so, I don't know, we have to really have a plan. I mean, it's like, it's always in the fire service, we seem to get lucky a lot of times. We always say that, we got very lucky. I mean, how many times we get people say, we got lucky at this point? And again, we got lucky. The guys did a great job. They put the fire out pretty quickly, but I had to make some decisions. I mean, surgeries going on, they're asking me, do we stop the surgeries? Do we have to cut the power? All these decisions I had to make. And the impetus, the what drove this class is that we should really have this plan where, you know, we should come up with a plan setting guide where you can pull out a piece of paper and you have everything that you need to know about that hospital, that jail, that school, that strip mall. Those decisions are already made. Okay? Because those are the type of decisions that you don't want to be making when you got fire blowing out a window, when you got people trapped, when you're trying to stretch hose lines and make those decisions and still try to make these other decisions. You know, the less that you have to do, whatever you can delegate, the better. So that's what that class came about. If you want to call again, 760-454-8852. I got Mike Dugan giving me like some really dirty looks right now. I know he's chomping at the bit to get in here. So I'm going to try to make this as long as possible. Okay, get back the next half hour. I'm seeing. What else? What else is going on? I'm going to run I have to tell you a funny story about how big. Tomorrow, I think Thursday, we have the Courage to Valor run, and I run it every year. And I'm trying to drag my buddy, and he's a fireman. And you know what he told me? He says, it's going to rain. And I looked at him, he says, I don't want to run in the rain. And I said, he's from the West Coast. All right, we'll leave it there. So tomorrow is the Courage to Valor run. Friday's the class. I don't know, it's just, it always awes me to be here. Sometimes I think it's like, you know, when you're young and your dad tells you you're going to go to Disney World next year. You know, it always feels like I'm coming to Disney World on here. And it's great to see. I just spoke to Anthony Avillo for that, so John Salter. You know, it's just like you think you're going to sit with someone for 2 minutes, and before you know it, then you run into Richie Gladys, and then I'm running into this guy and Jerry Knapp, and then before you know it, it was 1 o'clock. I'm getting a signal to give it the cut. So anyways, I'm glad to be here. If you're around, Friday, 10:30, I'm not sure of the room. It's called Pre-Incident Guides, Developing for High Hazards. If you're interested, stop by, say hello. If not, I'll see you on the radio.
Good afternoon. Mike Dugan here with my partner Mike Gagliano live from FDIC 2016. We are having a blast. We are tired. It's nice to sit down, but we are having a blast, meeting new friends, reconnecting with old friends. And if one of our friends out there wants to call in, the call-in number is 260-454-8852. Again, that's 260-454-8852. And we are here at FDIC 2016 and just having a great time. Classes, the hot, and the workshop started on Monday and Tuesday, and the opening ceremony today, which was phenomenal. And Bobby Halton, if you haven't seen it, did a phenomenal job. I think it might be available online sometime later this week.
Later today, yeah.
But just, if you haven't been here, look at the opening ceremony. It's well worth your time, and look at what's going on here. So my brother, Michael, wait, I'm sorry, I gotta cut him short because I was gonna turn it over to him. But I just want all of our listeners out there in Blocked Off Radio land to know, keep a thought for Michael and his wife Ann as they are going to become grandparents sometime in the next couple of weeks. Their baby granddaughter is due on Saturday. So just keep a thought and a prayer for them and for the newest addition to the Gagliano clan. And my brother finally gets to have a little girl. Now, I've been through it with two daughters. He finally gets a little girl. It's going to be great. So, how we been doing at FDIC?
Well, first off, thank you for that. I do appreciate any prayers you have for my son is Michael, and my daughter-in-law's name is Samantha. And Samantha's doing the heavy lifting, so but we're pumped. We're really excited. Annie couldn't come to FDIC this year, so I'm half a man without my girl at my side, but she's no way, no how going to get away from the homestead with the grandbaby about to drop, and so I'm just hoping that everything turns out all right, and I'll fly out of here Friday afternoon, and I'll be meeting my new granddaughter on Saturday. That's if the world's aligned, but you know, whatever it is, we're just praying that healthy and happy. And boy, I would reiterate what Mike said. The opening ceremonies today were so compelling and on so many different levels. I mean, professionally, just such a charge from Chief Halton to take care of each other and to commit to the principles that we all talk about. But boy, he laid them out in such a compelling way. Nobody gets left behind. From the best and strongest of us to the least and somebody who can't help themselves, nobody gets left behind. It was incredible, and going and rolling right into an amazing courage and valor story. And awesome because not typically it's the person who's at the end making the grab. It was the guy on the nozzle who helped the team make the grab, and that guy was up there getting acknowledged. I just thought it was so tremendous. We don't talk about that much. You know, the guy at the pinch point was yarding the hose in so you can get in. That guy gets no credit at all. The hand line doesn't advance if that guy's not the pinch point advancing the line. It's a team effort. It's everybody working together to see that the job gets done and go home and celebrate a job well done. And the opening ceremonies today was all about that. And of course, Steve, I mean, tell them about Steve. Good grief.
Steve Pegram talked about his wife Molly getting sick, pulmonary fibrosis, and needing a double lung transplant, and how the brotherhood came through, and how the men and women what they would want. And I know each and every one of them would probably say, yes, please.
Well, and certainly after seen Molly come out on the stage after Steve got done.
Oh, amazing. And I took a little page from my brother here's book, and when I gave my keynote, you happened to give me your coin, so both my girls had it. I got myself, and Ron Cameron gave me his coin, and we gave them to Steve so he could give it to his son and his daughter on the day that he gave the keynote. So just, he did a phenomenal job, and again, the story Bobby told about the valor of the pilots and the honor and everything else. It's probably another one of the greatest books I've read, and I do love to read. But A Higher Call by Adam Makos, just a phenomenal book about leadership and about being in the German Air Force, the Luftwaffe, and about these people who really didn't want to be there, but were there for their country, because if they weren't, they were going to be taken out and shot. And just a great, great story, something to look at, but talking about the way that one action, one simple action, and a mentor, the person who told him, and I just found that very, very, Bobby did a great job, and it was actually very, very nice to see everybody up there, and it was really just a tremendous thing.
Well, it starts off the regular ceremonies. We've been here since Monday. Well, working since, early Monday morning. And one of the fun things that we got to do this year that was a little different for us, Honeywell sponsored FDIC scholarships. And I know you've been hearing about them on the radio. To be candid, I was a little disappointed that only 300 people applied.
Yeah.
I mean, for 20 full ride, full boat, airplane, hotel, your registration fee, which is a lot of money, and only 300 people applied. Now, here's the cool part of the story. Mike and I got to hang out with the 20 recipients, got to go to a little get-together with them and meet them. They're from all over the country. 3 representatives, I believe, from Canada. Young firefighters, 1-2 years on the job, all the way up to a chief of the department. Got nominated by the troops to come to FDIC, which is just fantastic and amazing. I would just encourage you, man, because I know as excited as everybody was about the promotion, I know it's going to come around again, at least in some form or fashion. Start looking for it now. You hear how much fun we're having. I'm sure the other instructors that are going to come talking and do their radio show, they're going to tell you about the other cool stuff that's happening here at FDIC. This is your chance to give somebody in your department that deserves it, that actually has earned it, that did something cool in your department. All it takes is just writing them up a little bit. Maybe do a little video clip. We all got phones now. Even us dinosaurs, we can make a little video on our phones. What a great way to honor us. You can, yeah, you can. I'll show you after we get done.
Okay.
But Rich Erich, he nominated somebody. If that guy's got time to nominate somebody, you got time. Angie Hughes from Baltimore. Yep. Very active, busy fire company, on the board of fire engineering. One of her firefighters was like 2 years on the job, single mother, just has gotten into the fire service, is doing all the personal training stuff for them. And she took the time to nominate her, man. She was so excited to be here. So again, just one more opportunity in a week full of what just is amazing opportunities.
Absolutely. And again, you walk down the hallways of FDIC and you see these people and you meet old friends and you meet new friends, and people saying, "Oh, I'd like you to introduce you to this guy." And you're meeting I met a guy from England, I met a couple of people from Japan, and I'm like, wow. I left the Clatta last night. I went down to see friends at the Clatta and had my cranberry and club soda. I was still being a good boy. And I left the Clatta at 11 o'clock to get back to the hotel. I had left Mike at 10 o'clock after dinner, and he was heading back to the hotel. We walked into the hotel after midnight last night. Walking 5 blocks, maybe 6, took about an hour and a half with all the friends I met on the street. You've got to understand, and I don't know if I can put it into words, but FDIC is 32 to 35,000 firefighters, like-minded individuals who are in their departments, the people who want to be the movers, the shakers, the learners, the instructors, the people who want to teach, want to pass on the knowledge, want to gain the knowledge. And they are there to meet people, to network, to go to classes, to learn. So there's so much there for us. And it's just really, really a great thing to get to. And I highly recommend it if you are someone in power, in your department, and you can get some people of your department to this show, you do. Because the bang for your buck, we go through and look at the classes that are available, and at the 8:30 slot, or the 10:30 slot, or the 3:30 slot, there were 7 or 8 classes that you want to take. So you now have to narrow it down to what's more important to you. And also, just in case anybody does want to call in, our guest number, I got to put the glasses on again. Our call-in number is 760-454-8852. Again, that's 760-454-8852.
Yeah, we'd love to chat with you.
Yeah.
You know, we can, I can ramble on for hours and hours and hours, but it'd be fun to talk to you as well. Just a thought maybe on a couple of the classes that we've been to or that we've been involved in. Had a chance to participate with Rhoden from Underwriters Laboratory, doing all the kind of cool research that's going on right now, and even, you know, stimulating, I feel like, some of just the great discussion that's happening and challenging maybe some of what we believe to be true. And, you know, the cool thing is not always changing it, just challenging it and making you think about your fire attack and is what I'm doing the right thing to do, or is it just what I've always done? And I think a lot of fire departments are challenging their fire attack, and they're coming to the conclusion, you know, what we've done is good and it works for us. And I think that's fantastic. Always just kind of stacking up what you do and see if it works. Other departments, I think they're finding out that some of their approaches to the fire ground, there are better ways to do it, or more innovative ways to do it, tools that can be applied. You know, the safer the fire ground, you know, the better it is. The class we did, it was actually the first time we did it. So you know how a solo venture goes, you never quite know what you're going to get. I'm happy to say that it went pretty well. We did a class called What About the Victim? And I think that's been a legitimate concern and discussion amongst people who love what we do and are aggressive about what we do. When we change how we do fire attack, what does that cause to happen on the interior for the victim? How can we make the environment safer for the victim? And is some of the things we were doing causing the victim to be less safe, even though we were doing it for all the right reasons? You know, I mean, Mike, how many times have you busted windows and opened doors and ventilated and ventilated and ventilated? The premise was, we're making it cooler inside for the victim. Then we see the videos of what's going on actually inside the fire and what's happening. Yep. Oxygen's getting in, the fire is getting hotter, the conditions at the floor, because the gases are expanding, it's pushing the gas layer down, and it's getting hotter at the floor, way worse for the victim. So we're learning. Ventilate only when you have a hand line in place, only when you're absolutely ready to go. Keep the doors closed, keep the windows closed. One of the interesting things, and I'm anxious to see it as we pursue it further, Robin shared with us that your survivability in an under-ventilated compartment, because the oxygen level shrinks down to a certain point, I think he said about 10 to 12%, which isn't great for your life, but it sustains life for a while. Fire can't burn in that. And so if the oxygen level is shut down to that 10 to 12%, the compartment goes under-ventilated. For the victim, if you're not ready with a hand line or ready to grab them, they now have at least a little bit of oxygen and the fire isn't getting hotter and it's not expanding down to the floor. If all we do is ventilate without a quick insertion to grab them or a hand line to knock it down, all of a sudden they're now dealing with 400, 500, 600, 700 degree temperatures, the gas level is expanding, and they have no oxygen degree because the fire is tearing it up. So anyway, it was fascinating. Again, when you do the class, we did it in chunks. Robin did his piece, I did my piece. John Cirillo from FDIC did his piece. I felt like I was a student on the first and the third part. I was a student, just kind of listening and learning. So again, one of the cool experiences, you know, that you have.
Absolutely. And I went in and sat in on part of Becky White's class about fire prevention yesterday, and got to pick up some stuff in that. And it was very, very interesting. I also saw my buddy Dan DeGrice today with the firefighter mental health and suicide awareness.
Huge topic, huh?
Huge topic, huge topic. I mean, geez, the number of firefighters that are ending their own lives, and just knowing this, not the through alcohol, accidental overdoses, pills, or whatever else. It's amazing. It's amazing. And I know you guys have suffered with it recently.
And a rough year for us.
Yeah. And it's just, it's amazing. And it's happening all over the place. If the suicides were counted in the line of duties were more than double. And it's just, so you can find whatever you want. You can find topics. I did a class on VEIS, and you can also find classes. And one of the things I told to a couple of people, someone said, you know, there are a couple of classes I really, really want to take the 2 classes that are here today at the same time. What do I do? And I said, well, if it's only you, what I recommend you do is you go on the fire engineering, the FDIC website, and see if there are classes available where they take the instructor last year. And it's available online, and you can watch the class. Then go to the one that's not available online, and then go home and watch the other one. I said, you know, you have to do your homework. You have to go around and you have to search, and you have to see if you can find this stuff. But there are ways around it. If you're in a department, we've always recommended you go to one class, I go to another class. Then we go back and switch notes.
Yeah.
Yep. And then we always, the most important thing, and again, if you get nothing else from me at FDIC, whenever you go to a training, wherever you go, if you gain some knowledge, share it. If you find something that works for you, will work in your department, share it, okay? If you keep it to yourself, it benefits no one. If you share it, it benefits everyone.
I think a reality for anybody who's been on the job for any length of time, we all recognize, I think they comment about it at the stage, you can do everything right at a fire. Everything right. And that normally doesn't happen, by the way, doing everything right. But let's just say in the theoretical world, you can do everything right and still get caught by a fire. That's the reality of the fire. I've always found it both fascinating and frantically disturbing. That you can have some knowledge, you can go to a class, you can learn something that is life-changing or life-saving. You can, you know, we just got my buddy Jim Duffy just walked in the room. You can go to a class by Jim Duffy or Mike did, and you can get this amazing knowledge that will help to make your fireground operations better, and then hide it. I got this, I'm not sharing it with anybody. When that thing you learned from Jim, or that thing you learned from Mike, or that you learned from Anthony, that might be the one tip, the one technique, the one thing when everything's going bad. It might get you home to your new granddaughter, for crying out loud. What's the purpose of wrapping your arms around it and holding it in for you? Never understood. Like maybe you got wisdom. Well, maybe Duffy has some wisdom. What? I don't know.
I have no idea. I have no idea why people do not want to share their knowledge.
Sit down, Nancy. My wife is all of a sudden excited now that you're in the picture.
Annie, it's Jim Duffy.
The one and all.
Yeah.
But I don't know why people don't share their knowledge. Why don't we pass it on to the younger members of the department? Why? And I said this because there's a huge, I teach VEIS. And why the I? Why do I put the I in? Because my kids learn different than I did. And if I don't tell them it's Control Alt Delete, they hit Control Delete, wipe out the hard drive. Okay? So I got to teach them all the steps. So our younger members, we have to teach them all the steps that we're doing. We have to teach them what we want them to do. And when we came into the fire service, there were hidden rules. Okay? You had to we started at 9 o'clock. Oh, okay. You get at 8:30. You're late. You're supposed to be here at 8 o'clock. I thought we started at 9. Well, we expect you to be here at 8 o'clock. Nobody told me.
Surprise.
When I was a probie, I went to a firehouse, and I'm sitting in the kitchen having coffee as a probie because nobody told me what to do. Senior guy comes over and says, "Come with me. Let me show you where you're going. This is the Baraxo, and this is the tools. when they are done being cleaned, after you make a pot of coffee, then you can come in and have a sip of coffee, and then the bathrooms have to be mopped, the toilets have to be cleaned, and once he told me what to do, when I came off probation, the guy said, "You don't have to do it all." No, let's go by here. I'm responsible. I'm a junior man. I'm responsible. I said, "No, you can solve it."
But if you bitched and moaned about it, if you could do that, but you're gonna continue. A year, 2 years, 3 years, you're gonna be assigned all that work forever. If you complain about it, if you take it like a man and do the job and move on, it's gonna be okay.
They always look for a kink in the armor, and if they find it, they become a candle. I'll never forget, when I was a probie, we were doing the roof trim. They hung me off the roof of the building, and they came up with buckets of mop water. I mean, not too nice. Dumped them on me, a couple of eggs, some flour, and I was covered. And I'm hanging on the rope off the side of the building, and they said, "Do you have anything to say?" I took my helmet off, and I said, "You missed this spot." And they laughed and said, "This kid's okay." Because you don't take it personally. It's all part of what we do.
I think if any of the recruits that will come into my firehouse, and I'm building on to that, I always have the same talk with all of them. When the recruit comes in, whatever platoon they're on, I always have to sit down with the station captain. And I always open with the same thing. You come to a firehouse, we're not an old school beat you down type of firehouse anymore. It's now you come in, you're part of the team, we're gonna help you be successful. However, you have to earn your spot. I had to earn my spot. I came in as, I came into my firehouse as a 21, 22-year captain in Seattle Fire. And I told every one of the members, I'm coming here, I'm gonna earn my spot. Because they had all been at that firehouse. They'd all earned their way already. They'd gone on the runs. They put blood, sweat, and tears into that building. I'm the captain, things I gotta do. But I promise you, I'm gonna earn my spot and earn my right to be amongst you. If I have to earn it, every one of you recruits has got to earn it. And I think it resonates with them. They realize we're there to help them out. However, there's some stuff you're going to have to do to prove that you belong amongst these men and women who have worked so hard to get the spot in this position on the truck. And moving it back a little bit to FDIC, man, the hallways are steeped in that. Again, we got men like my brother Jim here, who has tremendous knowledge and is a gentleman and willing to share and cool about the world and friendly. If you had any idea at all that this is one of the finest instructors, you would never know it by the way, the brashness or the bravado that you would expect maybe out of that. Just a simple, humble guy. And when you start getting talking about fire, you go, holy smokes, this guy's got some knowledge. That's FDIC. That's the Yankees fan.
And
all of a sudden, we were doing good, and then the show spirals out of control.
Yep. So again, if you want to call in, folks, the phone number is 760-454-8852.
Yeah. What's the class you've been to that's been fun so far? What's a good one you've seen?
I have been visiting. I did my 4-hour class Monday morning. In the afternoon, I was spending hours Anthony Castro's class, and I went to somebody else's class. So I've been taking bits and pieces. And what I'm doing is twofold. I'm learning some stuff, but I'm also watching how they teach. I'm watching, I see in the back, I watch the student reaction to how, like, I watch you guys many times listen to you on the radio. There's certain things you do that I'm gonna try to steal and work it into mine. Or
what?
I'm not gonna tell you.
Tell me what we do that you like.
No.
Huh?
I like the way you play off each other. And I like the East Coast, West Coast stuff. I like the top side stuff, the Seattle stuff against the New York stuff. It's fun to listen to, and if you're having fun, you're learning. So, but then also I see other people who their material is awesome, but there's no enthusiasm, no love. I mean, it's sitting like very dry, and I'm not going to do that.
And I think with a lot of instructors who are new, it's nerves. And I see people too, and I tell them, when you're teaching, you have to be comfortable. Tell a joke. And it's not, well, I have to tell a joke every 15 minutes or anything, because then you're like on a pattern. Just go in there and ask them questions. That's the best way to lighten up a class, is ask them, what do you think this is? And it just, but this is where you learn.
Yeah.
It's the instructor's conference. It's where you learn to be a teacher, where you see other teachers, where you see your mentors, the people who came before you. I mean, look at Bobby Walden. We talked about the opening ceremony. Look at the way he speaks. Look at everything else. Father Carney, I mean,
Easy.
he is an amazing individual. And he's there talking about, this guy was a paratrooper as a priest. Yeah. He's got his wings. He jumped. I mean, amazing. And just, he and I were talking, he was telling me a story about, he's retiring soon, but he was moved out of his last parish. And we were talking about children with disabilities, and about this little 11-year-old boy coming over and giving him a hug and saying, Father John, I'm going to miss you, I love you. And he almost teared up, as I almost did, and he goes, that was the nicest thing ever happened. And he said, you know, children with disabilities are gifts from God. And it was amazing. And you can get emotions from the gamut, the whole range.
Well, I just want to clarify, just because I don't want to get lost. So just for the record, for eternity now, Jim Duffy was kind of describing what he did at FDIC, and he went into Anthony Castro's class and could only take that for an hour because it was dry and boring. And then he went to another class. Who was the next?
Never mind,
He went to PJ Norwood's class, and there wasn't much enthusiasm or passion for the job. So then I just want to make sure that we get it all straight.
All right, to clarify this, I didn't say anybody's class was boring. I just said some. I watch people, it is the instructor's conference. And I won't say I steal, borrow brilliance. I look and everybody has a different
Everybody
style.
steals.
Some of it won't work for my personality. You know, my friend excuse for instance, I could never talk or teach like him. I don't think step. I don't. But you watch people, you watch how you work, you watch how he sometimes works, over there in the corner, Anthony Avillo. You pick up something. You absolutely pick up something.
Well, and you know, and like you were saying, when you watch Frank, his going sequentially and brilliantly.
He is.
Because it's in his wheelhouse.
Right, yeah. And that's the way he works.
Yeah.
And me, it's like Mike said, I feed off the audience. I actually cut a third of my program out because I did so much interaction. We did so much discussion about a third of the program. I had to delete people, but the face-to-face communication, the questions, the answers are worth way more than any slide I have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I think our time is up. The lovely and talented and just amazingly untanned leg, Anthony Avillo, is up next. So, you know, from Mike and I and our guest, Jim Duffy, God bless you. Come to FDIC and we'll catch you down the road.
Absolutely. If you see us in the hallway, say hi.
Please do.
Hi, welcome to Fireground Strategies and Other Stuff from the Street with Anthony Avillo and Jim Duffy on Fire Engineering Talk Radio, where firefighters come to share their knowledge, their ideas, their opinions, and most of all, have a little bit of fun at the same time. So stay tuned and enjoy the show.
Hi, welcome to FDIC's edition of Fireground Strategies and Other Stuff from the Street. I'm Jim Duffy, and my partner over here is
Anthony Avillo.
Anthony Avillo over here. AKA, the show's also known as the Garlic and Gaelic Hour.
We're on TV now, right? Look at the camera. Hey, what's happening?
So we have a couple of guests with us. We have Michael Patrick Sharp and his dad Scott. The reason we've asked him here today, specifically my friend here, Michael, he's named after our father Judge, who died unfortunately on September 11th, 2001. And maybe you can tell us why you were named after him.
Well, it was just after 9/11, 2004, when I was born, and they went back, and on their honeymoon, they gave all their honeymoon money to the firehouses. And so my name, they wanted to choose somebody from there because they went back, and so they chose Patty Brown, not a Judge.
Okay.
Wanted to make sure those names were carried on and somebody really understood the sacrifice that they made.
Now, Scott, why don't you tell us your background a little bit?
I grew up in New Jersey and just outside of, there you go. See, she makes fun of me for being a Jersey kid, but
No?
that's still my license plate, Jersey kid.
Is that right?
Grew up right by Morristown. Could see the World Trade Center from my school when I'd walk home. I moved out to Missouri after high school, but I still had family back east and had a real strong tie back there. So everything that happened, it definitely affected me, and I wanted to make sure that as I brought the next generation in, they understood what was going on and the gravity of the situation.
Well, Chief, what do you think?
I'm just floored. Like I'm stunned at that. You know, how you just carrying the torch forward. And the other thing is, remember that there are people from New Jersey, and everyone else wishes they were from New Jersey. I just want to get that out of the way. But I had a thought, man, I've been using.
Well, so-
Yes, it does. It does. But
I'm sorry. Okay. One of the things that Michael does, he honors the fallen members from September 11th of the Memorial Stair Climb, not just this one here, but it's 110 flights. You understand that? And how old were you when you started?
From 3rd grade till 7.
Well, we met 2 years ago when I did it, and it wasn't the brightest thing I ever did in my life. Well, actually,
You made it.
doing the stair climb was fine, but unfortunately, I was talking to Brian Brush at the time. Now, Brian Brush is CrossFit moving kick, and so we're having a conversation. I'm going, and I'm out of breath, but I'm doing it. I kept his pace all the way up, and I was fine. And when I got finished, I was fine, but I immediately had to go drive to the airport and get on a plane. So I got on a plane with a couple of connections to get back east. It was like 4 hours in the airport. When I got back to Connecticut, I was literally like this. Lack of gas in my legs, built up, locked right up from sitting in the airplane all the time. So I learned a very valuable lesson. Fly back the next day.
Yeah.
But anyway, this guy climbed at an incredible pace. He got to march in with the Pipers. So I'm kind of impressed with his spirit and his attitude and how much he knows at such a young age of what happened September 11th. What's scary to me, I have guys in the firehouse who are barely old enough to remember September 11th. And I think as we get further and further, our collective consciousness of that event is dimming. And that scares me. On many angles, both the terrorist side and not to forget all the people who lost, not just the 343 firefighters, 37 police officers, almost 3,000 people that were murdered that day.
you know, it's something we should never forget.
Now I remember what I was gonna say.
Okay.
All right? And how old are you?
12.
12. Well, my daughters were born in 1999, 2001. And only within the last maybe like 3 or 4 years have they really started to get an awareness of what happened on September 11th. You know, schools are covering things, you know, but they kind of, you know, these kids, they just don't grow up with the awareness. They weren't alive when this happened. And it's amazing. It's 15 years ago. It seems like yesterday. You know, that must be like collective critical incident stress, you know, on our part. But the further away you get, and you know what I found also is when you're from the New York metropolitan area, it sits deeper with you for some reason. And that's not to disrespect anyone anywhere else in the country, but my brothers in Georgia, and I have relatives in other areas of the country, and it didn't. They forgot a little faster, you know, and you know, and that's unfortunate, but it's what's happening here with you doing the run, and it's just refreshing to see that, you know, the spirit is still there, and it is going to move on, and it takes special people to do that kind of thing. You know, we're really proud of it.
Yeah, and even that morning, you know, I was watching from 1,000 miles away, and everybody was in awe. But it, you know, like I said, I saw the towers every day coming home from school. There were people, most of the people in our town had never been to New York. They didn't ever see it. But it's it was definitely, you know, I called one of my buddies that I went to high school with. He was going to school in Kansas, and we were both the same way. You know, it just hit. We were 1,000 miles away, but it just hit a lot closer to home.
Yes, my brother told me the story. He was in Georgia, and he was on the train going to work, and you know, he was like, you know, bawling his eyes out, and you know, it was sort of, people were stunned and shocked, but the collective sort of response to it was not quite what he expected, you know. But up by us, you know, it is a much deeper sort of wound, collective wound. You know,
every town lost somebody.
Yes, but it is sort of starting to fade into the distance a little bit. And that's our responsibility to keep it.
That's one of the great things about FDIC, and we're here to kind of talk a little bit about FDIC because this is kind of a special edition of the radio show. The number of people who do stair climb here, it's absolutely an incredible experience. You guys here who are at FDIC listening, you should think about, if you're not going to climb, attend, or at least buy a t-shirt and a challenge coin to help support, you know, the National Fallen Firefighters Foundation. That's where the money collected for this goes, and it's a great organization. Part B of that, it's very inspirational. The climbers marching behind the pikers. Bobby Galton walks in the front, Mike Dugan helps him. Mike Dugan shakes the hand of everybody who climbs. Everybody that climbs, he shakes their hands. Like, he's been doing it for years. But it's inspiring. And then when you get to the 85th floor, there's a bell, because that's as high as any firefighter got that day. You ring the bell and you announce the name of the person you're climbing for. And why don't you tell them who you're climbing for this year?
Well, I am climbing for, obviously, Michael, Patrick, not Patrick.
It's okay.
Michael Drake.
Yeah, Michael.
And?
And,
You remember who you picked?
well, yeah,
Duffy? Nice.
yeah, guys.
Everybody guys.
You got Hartford.
Yep. And I'm climbing for Darrell Bronco Pearsall. He was on the pipes and drums and rescue 4.
And when you climb it's in the stadium, right? So the
Yeah,
stadium, you climb the bleachers. Now, how many? 3? You go up 3 times?
It's
Yeah.
3 full rotations. You start on the ground level, and they shut all of the escalators off for us, so you have to climb everything. Nothing's automatic. And you go all the way up, and you get into the top, and you just go up 1, and then down the one right next to it.
Okay.
And you just keep serpentining that way until you do 3 full rotations.
3 little full rotations of the stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Wow,
it's,
that's intense.
yeah.
That's very intense.
The up is hard, down is worse.
Down does more damage.
We do one in Clayton, and the way they do it there is it's all up, and we take an elevator down. And that one doesn't hurt you.
The down ones don't count, though. Only the up ones count.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you train for this?
Well, at first we trained.
He's young.
I know.
Yeah, true,
I
true.
wanted to see how he trained.
At first, we didn't really train the first time because we didn't know we were gonna do it.
The first time was an impromptu, last minute.
Yeah.
He said, "Hey, let's do that."
So.
And I had brought my gear, so we were ready. And I thought, I don't know how far we're going to get with this.
So we did
And
it.
110 floors later,
We
we're done.
got there.
And
And
then
then.
had to drive back home 5 hours. And I had the same thing Chief Duffy had. Got out of the truck in Missouri and went, oh, I can't walk.
My legs are sore, but they weren't as bad as him. The old guy. And
The old
then.
The old guy that does it in all the turnout gears.
Mhm.
That's what I keep trying to convince him. Now I slow him down a little bit and give him one of my helmets.
He doesn't have turnout gear with it?
No, we gotta work on that.
Well, maybe you just gotta give him like a sack of rice or something to carry.
Well,
Maybe you can get a sponsor. You have all the turnout manufacturers here. Maybe you can.
There you go.
We can actually use it to raise funds.
There you go.
We
We
did
can
that.
Oh, I did.
talk to Quaker or Morning Pride about getting you to set it around here.
Talk to Willie or Red about which one probably.
Which one they
Yeah, 'cause
recommend?
I'm gonna change the subject a little bit here. Do you go to any classes here at FDIC? Or
No.
do you go floating around?
When he has classes, I've never gone to one. We usually just go out and we do things around the neighborhood. Like we went to the Children's Museum one time we had classes. But other than that, he hasn't had any classes. So we all stay together and we just do things, baseball games.
How about you, Scott?
I took classes 2 years ago, and I haven't since, but it's just been so busy with him because he winds up, basically, we wind up being his publicist because everybody's so amazed with the fact that he does all this.
Well, just to try to steer you in the right direction here, you can't get any better training here. You should sit in
no.
class, let them go someplace else a little bit. Or bring him in the class, maybe you can learn. Do you have any goals for the future? You can be an engineer or something?
Probably a firefighter. I have Billy's 2 books.
Oh, very good, very
You
good.
know what? Do you have it with you? You might get one of the office to sign it for you right there, Chief Avillo.
I don't have it. It's back in the room, but if you want to do it sometime.
Well, we'll catch him on Friday.
I'm not gonna be here Friday, so we'll.
You should know in a minute, we have a call.
Really?
His name's Sonny. He should be out.
Somebody.
It's okay, hello, Sonny, how are you doing? Is this Sonny from Nebraska?
Yeah, hey Doug, what's going on?
How you doing, brother?
What's up, Sonny?
I'm doing good. I just wanted to call in and I want to challenge Avillo. I think Avillo should fly this year.
Oh,
When is it?
Friday.
Yeah, I gotta leave Thursday.
Should climb.
I gotta leave Thursday.
Can't leave Thursday?
Yeah, I have commitments at the university that I can't get out of, so I'm actually leaving tomorrow morning. So maybe I'll go and climb it by myself this afternoon.
As a university slacker, you can always get out of the university.
He already is though, that's how he's here, so you
Yeah.
can't push it. Sonny, I have a question for you. Are you suffering from PTSD because you're not here this year?
Yeah, that's why I've been calling every day. You're gonna have to stop.
He's a frequent caller.
Sonny, I miss you, you know, and I was actually with a few of your friends. Tim Zender I was with, you know, I saw Casey.
Casey.
Yeah, Tim and I will just have a meeting. You know, there's always the future. Don't worry about it. We'll see you again.
Oh, no, I'm not too worried about it. But that's the only reason I wanted to call. I wanted to say, hey, Michael Patrick, good job climbing again. You bring me to tears every time I climb with you. You climbed with me a couple times, and that's just awesome. Keep up the good work. I think it's unfortunate, for lack of a better term, that Avillo has to leave. But like you said, there's the future. So next year, Anthony and I will be climbing.
Okay,
Thank you. That's awesome.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go Yankees.
I'll even front you the money, Avillo, so we can climb.
You what?
They'll front you the money.
Oh, you'll front me the money?
He just wants to see more fun.
I know, he just wants to see me climb. Wait, you think I can't climb?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that Duffy and I can do it. Anybody.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Listen, I just don't want to get beat by my grandfather.
What's up?
My grandfather's climbing, so I have to climb.
that would be me he's referring
He's my
to.
grandfather.
That would be me he's referring to. So speaking of all, did you see the opening ceremony streaming?
Yeah, and actually Indianapolis is an hour ahead of us.
Yep.
So I got up at 6:45.
Yeah.
Nebraska time and got up and watched it live. So.
You know what, Sonny, you are the ultimate buff. You know, I love your spirit, I love your enthusiasm, I love your love of the fire service, and I think that's so cool. When I'm going to talk about that opening ceremony this morning, I'm going to ask the listeners to go on. The keynote speech was about organ donation, and if you sat through that speech and you didn't have tears in your eyes, you're not human. So I'm going to ask all our listeners, if they're not organ donors, it's not on their license, they haven't signed up to be an organ donor, please consider doing it. It's obviously going to cost you nothing because you won't be here, but your firefighters, who swore, like he said, to protect life, this is how you can save a life without costing you a single dime.
Right.
So definitely think about it. Look at your license. If it doesn't say organ donor on it, go to the motor vehicle, or you can go to online, look it up how you can do it right online.
That's good. Yeah. You know, speaking of that, we had very good friends of mine. One was a captain in North Hudson, Kevin O'Driscoll. The other was a captain and retired as battalion chief, Steve Cador. Kevin O'Driscoll came down with a very rare type of cancer, and his kidneys began to shut down. And Steve Cador, who was his best man at his wedding, donated a kidney to him. He's since passed, Kevin O'Driscoll, but it was, you know, just, how people, you know, it's so special that somebody do something like that, you know. And you hit it out of the park this morning, that you know, I have to say.
You know, we all want to make a ditch one house, so it's a very simple, easy way you can do it. And so for all my firefighter friends out there, please consider doing it. What about Bobby's speech, as usual? Hit it out of the park, as always.
Fire and brimstone.
The Billy Graham of the fire service.
Yes. Now, did you guys hear the opening ceremonies? Yeah. You did. Were you in the room?
Bobby is always amazing.
Bobby is unbelievable.
He's actually, when we first came out, he met Bobby. And every time we see him in the hallway or whatever, he says, "Oh, there's Bobby. I gotta go say hi to him." And at the beginning of the stair climb, Bobby always gives him a hug and he says, "God bless you, thank you."
So yeah, I think Bobby goes sort of into another plane
level
of consciousness when he does those speeches. You know, you just see the fire in his eyes.
And he's very refreshing. He makes, you know, and his energy just really gives you, you know, it's a recharge. We were talking about that the other day, coming out here, just
that's what this conference does.
Yeah.
It's the Disneyland for firefighters, the recharging of the batteries, you know, it just does all those things. And, you know, by next week, we'll have the countdown ready for the next one.
Absolutely. One other thing I want to speak of is the Courage and Valor Award, Jason Revere.
Yes.
Incredibly humble human being, wonderful person, did an outstanding job, both at the fire, what he did. It was kind of exciting. An engine guy got the award, you know, for holding the staircase. You know, a truckie trips over a victim in a hallway, drags him out 3 feet. On a metal day, he gets metal pins on his chest. Engine company takes a beating, stretches down the hall, holds the fire so the truck can do the work, and they never get any awards. It was nice to see an engine guy get it today.
Were you an engine guy, by the way?
No, most of my career was on the truck.
Oh,
I did start in an engine, but I just don't think a lot of times they get enough credit for what they do. You know, John Norman said a properly placed hose line saves more lives than any other action product. That's absolutely true. But the truck fire, right? So again, it was nice to see an engine guy get it. It was really nice to listen to his acceptance speech, if that's what you call it. You know what? I did what I did. The truck did this. The squad did this. The second engine did this. He made sure every member of his team, everybody that was at that fire, that was acknowledged. Not to mention, you know, his wife and, you know, the organization. But I love what he had to say. I absolutely did.
Yeah, he was very good. He was very genuine. You know, the same with Steve and the keynote. Just came across as so genuine and believable. And, you know, and I talked to him afterward. He said he was, you know, pretty much like shaking in his boots while he was, you know, waiting to go on and give that speech. But you couldn't tell while he was giving it because he just looked like he was so natural in his delivery and you know, just. There's so many good storytellings. You know, and I mean, it wasn't a story, but he kind of told it like a story. You know, and there's so many good storytellers in this business. You know, I remember seeing Ed Hatfield. Remember when Hatfield told a story out in Nebraska? And you just hear these things, and you're like, oh my God, that's talent. You know, and passion.
Passion, faith.
Yeah.
You go on and on and on. Go on.
Absolutely.
I love coming here, and again, anybody who's listening at home who's not here, you got a whole year to next FDIC. Put your money away, try something cheap to send you out here, because you'll never get an experience in the fire service like FDIC. You know, classes, brotherhood, networking. It's just like Avillo said, Disneyland for firefighters. It's a great thing to attend, just to witness it.
About 30,000 here usually.
Yes.
It's around the number.
That's
30,000 firefighters. Can you imagine that?
Well, did you look at the room today?
Yes.
Okay.
Stand on a moment.
Jason and his wife are in the front row, and I'm sitting, I got my camera. So I get on the ground and take a picture so that when I give it, what's going to happen? All of them behind. So I said, stand up and look. You know, what about overwhelming?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know,
Yeah. It's just dedicated people, you know. And, a lot of times, I'll say a lot when I'm in the classroom. You know, I know I'm preaching to the choir here because you people are the ones that are here. You know, oftentimes, and I love this statement: the ones who need the sermon the most are never in the church. You know, but sometimes you feel like you're preaching to the choir, and that's okay. But these are the dedicated people. These are the people that are moving the fire service forward. You know, and you're just hoping that they're now getting the message out to the people that don't come here.
Sometimes it's hard though, because you take someone who's got 4 or 5 years on, or very committed into the way they do things, fire department, and you get a guy come back and say, hey, that's right, I learned about this looks like it really worked for us. So you went through a class, you know everything. So what you have to do is you have to have persistence, you have to be confident, you need to keep selling, keep trying to preach the message, drag more people back next year, just try to inspire your people when you go back home.
Start from scratch and keep scratching. That's the way I say it. So Mike, when's the next they're playing after this? Do you have one scheduled?
Like in September, it's usually the weekend right after the 11th.
Are they all 110 stories?
Yeah. They are. Yeah, that one is it's in a 23-story building, and we do it like 5 times.
Oh, where's Clayton? Clayton,
It's in St. Louis County, Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one that's closest to home for us.
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the one that we do in September.
Did you think you were going to make it the first time you done one?
I don't really, I remember the first one very vividly, but not a lot, because I've done so many of them, I'm just like,
They all want it. They blur together.
yeah.
I didn't know if I was going to make the first one.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah. I'm not sure. I'm not going to make the first one.
I have to run now to train.
Yeah, oh,
We've
absolutely. How old are
actually,
you?
I'll be 40 in December.
No, you're a baby.
So
Oh,
we've got to
like
set it.
78.
Yeah, he was doing it, so we've got to set a
first one I
standard
did, I
our
was
town.
58.
I trained.
No, very good.
For 20 years.
20 years. So what's the biggest challenge of doing the run? What's your favorite part? What's the toughest part?
Some of it is always tough, it's just kind of.
Finishing. Finishing's probably the best part, right?
Not running into the guy in front of him, winding up covered in soot from the air pack.
I just keep going, I'm going, and I all of a sudden I hold my mic. Yeah. He says, you have a long city. I go, I know. That's it.
Because they use the air packs from hot glasses, they're all
Yes.
covered in soot
Yeah,
and everything.
I
He winds
run
up
right
covered
into
in
him.
And we have our next show wandering in the Sons of the Flag. Great organization. You folks, they'll tell you about it in a moment. But I want to introduce Michael to you guys. Michael does a stair climb, and he's been doing it for, he's named after Michael Judge, Father Michael Judge, from September 11th. And he does a stair climb to commemorate this and to raise money for the National Fallen Fires Foundation.
Well, Michael, this is John Walters. John Walters worked at Rescue 1 for FDNY.
Come on over.
Thank you, guys.
Have a sit. Talk to him.
We were at Rescue 1 just this summer,
Yeah.
Were you really?
Yep, yeah, we went to New York for vacation
They
and
did,
we went
right?
by.
Were they engorged?
Yeah, they were. Actually,
Boy, how you doing? Good, man. Good.
actually invited him in. He got to go through the truck and took us back and showed him the table in the back. And the
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Did we try to figure out how to get the fire truck out of the garage door in the back?
That would be a hard one. If they go through that one, they're in trouble, aren't they?
Yeah, it's good stuff.
That's an awesome station, though. The tradition and
He's
history.
got like the best name going.
Yes.
Michael and Patrick, so Patty Brown and Father Joe.
I just posted a video on my Facebook this week, like 2 days ago. Facebook feed about Patty Brown and stuff. Some good stuff, really good stuff.
He's got some huge shoes to fill with those names. But
We got another guest with us that's coming in a couple minutes to sit down with us from the Joey D Foundation, Jeff Poole from Rescue 3 in the Bronx. And,
I was gonna tell Michael.
Jeff, where you
Mike,
at?
how many?
He's hiding in the corner.
There he is. He climbed 8 stair climbs. Well, something cool about John is that Sons of the Flag did stair climbing 4 months back. John climbed all 110 flights. And we think John may be the first amputee to climb, do a full stair climb, 110 flights.
Awesome. Me and my flag.
that's pretty cool.
This is Jeff Poole over here from Rescue 3.
How are you, everybody?
So he's one of the firefighters.
Yeah. Jeff helps run the Joey D Foundation with, Joey's a friend of Jeff's and a friend of myself, and I guess Jeff, you probably worked with Chief Joe, before you worked with Young Joe.
Chief Bernardo he got me my first assignment, he was my division commander.
Yeah, so, and so he helps with the Joey D Foundation, and we're actually, doing some stuff in the nonprofit world to help each other out, so we're sharing a booth with them this year. So
Graciously, they are.
you gotta stop by and see us at the booth over there. Now, if you wanna read another really cool, hero, Ryan Parrott is here. And he's-
Ryan,
he'll be coming in. Ryan is a Navy SEAL sniper. So Ryan is a Navy SEAL sniper. So us guys in the fire department look up to guys like Ryan.
Yeah. How's it going? Nice to meet you.
How you doing?
Remember?
So, Ryan did the stair climb with us too. And I think I beat him. True story. I think I beat him. Yeah. There's a camp in Charleston, South Carolina that we send money to and stuff, so those guys got to do it. And some of the guys that work for Sons of the Flag or some of our volunteers volunteer to be counselors at the camp. And we started another thing this year with the Terry Farrell Fund gave us a fire engine. So we bring the fire engine to the kids' burn camps, and we started a new program called Water Brigade. So we take, Ryan's got a bunch of helpers with Sons of the Flag that take the fire engine that we got from the Terry Farrell Fund from Long Island, and 2 guys that were killed on 9/11, Tommy and Pete Langone, who was their volunteer department. And so their names are on the fire engine. So Ryan, we renamed the engine Engine 7 because Ryan was on SEAL Team 7. And the truck is named after his grandfather, who was a Detroit firefighter for over 30 years.
30 years.
And a World War II vet.
And a World War II vet.
Life of service.
So the fire truck goes there, and we put out the 100-foot slip and slide, and fire hoses, and we got water balloons and super soakers. So the kids act mature, and the firemen act immature.
Like kids.
Yeah.
Well, like Bobby said today.
And we have a really good time.
You can't be a firefighter when you grow up.
That is 100% the truth, and I think there's a little bit of that in Navy SEALs too. And so we go to the burn camp, and that's what we do. It was kind of one of Ryan's ideas and pet projects, so we help all these kids out too.
You can grow up, but you should never quit dreaming.
Yeah, nice job.
Did you show me your cool tattoo?
Yeah, right here.
That's pretty neat.
And then we got this other thing, we got this other cool thing for you to check out called the Bird's Eye View Project.
So when you got 2 seconds, Google that.
There you go, another thing for you to Google.
And you will see an absolute crazy man flying through the air in a wingsuit. And the crazy guy looks just like him.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Have you seen it?
No.
No?
You wouldn't believe it if you saw it. Nathan's been there, he's on the team with them and stuff, and it's pretty interesting to say the least. He's doing some snowboarding, some skydiving,
Snowboarding.
wingsuiting.
Check with figures out.
So why don't you repeat about Bird's Eye View, about the fundraiser, what you're doing and how you can donate? Why don't you tell the listeners about that?
Well, actually, Ryan would be more suited to give you the fill it out.
You're a crazy guy, too, right?
The crazy guy,
Yeah.
The idea behind the Bird's Eye View project was we've done a charity Sons of the Flag for 4 years now. And one thing that we can't do is push our name and our organization out to the masses of people across America. And it's very expensive to get public media time to get it out to the masses. How do you do that? You can only raise so many funds for it. And so this is an independent marketing arm, and we're combining forces with multiple veteran charities across the country and first responder charities to complete the mission. So ultimately what we're going to do, what would you like to see on like Google or Facebook? Would you like to see an extreme sports video? Do you like watching those crazy videos?
Yeah, I like to do perfect things.
Exactly.
Those
Exactly. So we're going to use videos of extreme sports to get that viralness going. So everybody watches them, but at the end of them, we're going to tailor it to how you can give back to the community, how you can support veterans and first responder needs. Thank you. I appreciate it. Are you going to sign up? Maybe.
I already see the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the idea, is we're giving you an opportunity to understand what's going on around the world, around the country, how you can give back. And that's very important today, is that we have to give back, because there are so many people that are struggling right now, veterans, first responders, who need our help. And if we don't know how, then how can we? So that's the idea behind the project. And I'm going to jump off mountains and cliffs and buildings, bridges, all that good stuff. Hopefully a parachute works every time.
Yeah.
This is long distance one I hear you talk about doing. I was with Ed Hatfield the other day. I don't know if you remember talking with Ed Hatfield talking about how long you've been able to try to do a record.
That was a different guy.
It was a different Navy SEAL. Part of the same organization, correct?
Different organization. So yeah, he was a Navy SEAL as well. His name's Andy Stone, and he's got the world record now for the longest wingsuit flight. So he went after it, and he was doing it for the Navy SEALs Foundation, and he's doing awesome things. Everybody watched it, and that's kind of the theory about what we're trying to do here too, is use extreme sports, use that viralness, push it out to the masses, and give them an idea of how to help. So it's not just about a fun stunt, but it's about getting back.
So Michael, this whole thing, and you listen to everybody, it's all about giving. You know what? You're starting at your age, and you know about giving. It's a wonderful thing to keep trying to do.
Appreciate what you do, brother. You know what really works good too is we had a bunch of kids about your age that we go to the schools and we teach them about some of the burn camps that we do. And we actually asked the teachers, hey, can we give the kids some homework? And the kids were like, yeah, we love homework. And they actually gave a homework assignment, and the kids all made a card for a kid that was in the burn camp. So in the summertime, instead of us, a bunch of adults going there telling the kids something, they're getting it straight from other kids, which is really neat. So that was a really cool thing. And one thing that we like to promote, helping each other as a peer. So if you're somebody like me that lost a leg, I talk to somebody that lost a limb. We kind of relate to each other. If you were a Navy SEAL or in combat, you kind of relate to another Navy SEAL that's been in combat. You know, me and Jeff had some injuries from being injured on the job and stuff, so we talk all the time about our injuries. We relate all the time. But when you're a 10 or 12 or a 15-year-old kid and you look disfigured because a lot of fun. So when you got other kids telling you to keep up things and keep your smile on and do all that kind of stuff, it goes a long way. So that's one of the things you could always send. If you know anybody, send them to our website. Tell them to check out Bird's Eye View Project or sonsoftheflag.org. And tell them to come down and meet Jeff at the Joey D booth with us. We're in booth 5568. So it's, you know, if you watch Chief Halton's speech this morning about never forgetting and stuff like that. And so here we are combining forces to make
a product that we do and a product that the Joey D Foundation does, and there's a product that Rosecrans does, and we're putting all these products together under a big umbrella. And the main thing behind it all is peer support. Peer. You know, and you really can't do any better than that. So, Chief, thanks for our tip this morning about how to do things like that. It was an amazing experience this morning, and I think Ryan gave up on doing speeches from now on.
I quit.
Yeah.
Especially after him. Everybody quit after that.
But truthfully, we really enjoy, things between the military, the fire service, and we got our team Sons of the Flag out here. We got firefighters from all over the country here with us. So we got California, we got Michigan, we got Texas, we got Virginia, we got Illinois. We got guys from all over the place. Tennessee.
Is it a guy from Missouri?
Actually, we don't today, no.
Really?
We
You know
don't
anybody?
today.
See? There you go.
You know anybody?
You gotta think about it. From Missouri. Who's from Missouri?
Want you to have that, buddy.
Oh.
Keep dreaming.
Check that
Keep
out.
working hard.
Hey, where'd you get that? I don't have one of those.
Don't tell them.
That's awesome.
Future of America, Michael. Thank you,
That's
buddy.
good stuff there. So my other buddy, the one that you got on your photo there, Bronco.
Yep.
So Bronco was a good buddy of mine.
Was he really?
Yeah, and he worked in Brooklyn, not too far from me, but I knew him outside the firehouse way before him and myself were firefighters and stuff. So I have a twin. I have my first cousin, my mother's sister's son, is a year younger than me, but we grew up together. He looks like Bronco's twin. They didn't know each other until they got on the fire department, and they ended up not only playing football together on the offensive line, but they both had the can of dip in their back pocket and the bend on the hat like this. They were both about 285
Identical.
pounds. So I used to hang out with the two of them and say, yeah, check out my triplets here.
Yeah. Sure,
So,
he's not long lost.
I wasn't 185 and they were about 285 and a little bit bigger than me. But we had a lot of fun. So I'm glad to see you climbing for,
Yep.
us guys, not just the New York guys, but us being from New York, obviously, watching these stair climbs. And the first one I ever went to was here. And it's a very overwhelming experience to see everybody else picking up the ball and running with it to support our brothers, because it was bigger than just New York.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something that you don't know also, Mr. Ryan right there joined the military because of 9/11. So when he saw the Twin Towers fall, he went and
did his part.
He went and joined the military and said, I know what I got to do now. So, and he wanted to be the best. He didn't want to be just in the military. He wanted to be the best.
The good SEALs.
If you're gonna do it, you do it.
Unless you're like a Green Beret, don't tell him that.
Yeah.
But they all kind of work together and stuff like us firefighters do. So it was a pretty neat thing. So when I met Ryan, we had that like we said, that peer connection, because he joined because of 9/11. We worked at Ground Zero for a long time. I worked at Rescue One where the Navy SEALs stole our logo.
Don't believe that. Don't believe that.
So
there's no trident in Rescue.
Yeah, listen.
Yeah, intruders.
We introduced him yesterday to Kevin Shea from Rescue One, and Kevin said the same thing I told Ryan when I met him. We started in 1915. When did you guys start? Because I think Kennedy was president. So who stole whose logo?
I'm not going to debate this with you.
Well, Michael, I've been on the fire department for over 20 years and have seen a little bit, but one of the most impressive things I've seen in my life was, and probably one of my greatest honors was watching him climb 110 flights last September and getting to follow him up the stairs. That'll be one of my cherished moments in life. That was so you did it. You've done it 9 times, and I imagine you got 9 more in you.
Well, 8 times.
This will be your 9th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, buddy.
That's good stuff. Who are you climbing for?
Michael Judge.
Awesome.
Can't get any better than that.
Who he's named for, so that's.
So when I was having some issues with dealing with some problems, I called Chief Halton, who helped me out a little bit, and I went to visit a buddy of his who's a good buddy of mine now in Chicago. And I was there for a little bit. We had a group, and we wanted to close the group every day with a prayer. And guess what prayer we figured out to close the group with every single day?
I bet probably Father Mike's.
Father Mike's prayer. And you know, if you go to that place right now, that prayer is still sitting, that we made it on a piece of artwork, and it's still hanging there, and they close every day with that prayer, and it's still there from when we made it when I was there.
That's cool.
So-
I got a copy of it from when we went back for the memorial service. I got it from the firehouse that he came out of, you know, ones and 24s.
Yeah.
I actually got one laminated and I carry it in
Well,
my
my cousin-
turnout coat pocket.
Now, see, that's kind of weird. So we got you named after Michael Judge. We had that prayer there. You got Bronco's thing on. And my cousin Michael, who worked in the Bronx, is now a lieutenant, but he's working at Ladder 24
Really?
right now.
Pretty
So a
cool.
lot of little idiosyncrasies like that are just a amazing little thing there.
Yep.
You got any questions?
Think of anything?
No.
No?
I got something to say. You know, it's like I admire you. How old are you again?
12.
12. You know, it's like we've had tragedies in our lives, John and myself, you know, and Ryan, you know, and probably other people in this room. And it's trying to make something positive come out of that tragedy. 9/11 was a tragedy. Now we're raising awareness through stair climbs, you know, and raising money for different groups through those stair climbs. And it's just awesome that you see that at such a young age to pay it forward, because that's what it's about. It's not about you. It's
Yeah.
paying it forward to the next guy.
Yeah.
And if we don't teach them, it's going to get lost.
Yes,
That's-
absolutely.
and that when my wife and she found out she was pregnant, and we went back and forth with names, trying to figure out. I said, we're going to carry on. We're going to carry on part of what we can do. So that way those names are carried on. And when he was really young, we actually told him the story, who they both were and why he had that name.
That's
So-
amazing. It really is. Tell you,
God, I don't think they know about his middle name. They only know about his.
Yeah, his middle name is Patrick for Patty Brown.
Okay.
So
yeah, that's amazing. So I have a son that's 3 now, and his middle name is Joseph.
for Joey DiBernardo.
Well, there's Joe DiBernardo and Joe Hunter that I worked with, both that I went to Proby school with, and both we worked in a squad company. And Joe Hunter was killed in 9/11, and Joey D obviously went to the rescue company. Then I went to the rescue company, and the rest is history. So it sits with me all the time. My middle name's Joseph too. So my son's first name is Reagan because he's a future president.
There you go. Might as well set the goal.
So you know we set the bar a little high. So
You thought you had some names to live up to.
set the bar high. I don't know. When you follow clergy, that's a whole nother level.
No.
That's a whole nother level.
Extra help, you know. Some people
You know?
might say it's cheating. I don't know.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
That's right.
That was pretty good stuff, though. I like the fact that a lot of kids nowadays don't know. I have a daughter that's 13, and she was born after 9/11, you know, and it's weird because she's going to be going into high school, and she wasn't born when 9/11 happened.
Doesn't have that connection.
She's going to be in high school. And, of course, I'm going to my 30th reunion, which makes me old. But it's all good, you know. So to see the younger generation picking up and having some direction and stuff like that, it's kind of inspiring. And I was having an actual lousy day today, but now I'm not. So thank you.
Well, good.
Kind of inspiring.
Help each other out.
Yeah. Now, just watch out, because if I put my shoes on to come to the stair climb tomorrow, I might be in front of you.
That'd be cool. We can climb with him,
Yeah.
right?
And if Nathan goes, I guarantee you he's in the back, because that's where he always is.
Somebody's got to bring up the rear, right? Make sure everybody's in front of you.
I'm comfortable with it.
So when you come by to the booth at, what did I say we are, 5568. So Ryan started Sons of the Flag, and we took a veteran from every war and skydived out of an airplane. So we had a guy from World War II, and a guy from Korea, and a guy from Vietnam,
Oh, wow.
all the way through till now. One of the guys is a Medal of Honor recipient,
That's awesome.
Sal Junta. There's another guy that's a Secret Service agent now. He's on one of the details right now. So I got to be honored to do it in honor of the firefighters, which was really cool too. So Ryan's story's in the book, and each guy from each war has a story in the book. Now, the whole part of the book is not what we did, because it's irrelevant really what we did. The whole point of the book is why we did what we did, kind of like why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, why you did.
So
what-
stop by tomorrow when you can, and Ryan will sign the book for you too.
Cool.
That'd be awesome.
So you can have a book signed by a Navy SEAL, and Chief Bobby Halton wrote the forward in the book. So you
Can
can
we
have
have
Chief
these?
Halton sign the book
Yeah.
too. So it's some really cool stuff. And another firefighter from New York that was injured, kind of like myself and Jeff, was Rob Weedman, who worked at Rescue 2. He was burned pretty severely. So he does a lot for Sons of the Flag, and also has a chapter in the book. So the guys like Jeff and Greg is out there from Washington, D.C., Rescue 3, tell me and Rob all the time, it takes 1 and 2 to make 3.
That's fact. That's fact.
Competition, right?
So, and that's a fact, I guess. So I don't know about my fireman facts anymore. I'm retired. I'm now a helper for a burn foundation. So my firefighting days are over. But anyway, it's a lot of cool stuff, that little things that intermingle between Sons of the Flag and some of the other nonprofits and fire engineering and Bobby Halton and stair climbs and all that other stuff. So it's kind of inspiring, Very cool stuff.
Definitely.
Got anything else?
One of these days I'd love to come up and do your seminar that you guys do.
Oh, absolutely. Joey's foundation, and we haven't talked, really about that, but Joey's foundation is that it was started out of tragedy. 6 guys jumped out of a window in the Bronx in 2005 through no fault of our own, and we didn't have personal safety ropes. We didn't have our Spider-Man web to get out of there. And now after that tragedy, all the New York City Fire Department has them, and fire departments across the country are looking at them. And basically, we have seminars every year to raise money for fire departments that can't afford this gear. And we have a seminar every year, and it's coming up in November again. And all the money we raise, we give that money to departments that don't have the money to buy these ropes.
That's cool.
So it's good stuff.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool thing.
I told him the story about how everything happened.
Yeah.
So
You're a pretty tough kid, huh? Seems like it to me, just meeting you.
The coolest thing I've ever seen on rope is, you ever watch any of the football games? You ever see the big scoreboard at the Dallas Cowboy Stadium?
Mm-hmm.
It's like the biggest television in the world,
Oh, yeah.
right? So in the beginning of the game, Ryan got to rappel out of the scoreboard with a dog, a service dog from the military.
harness.
Yeah,
Cool.
Yeah, we were praying he was harnessed.
Yeah.
It could have been really bad.
and he got to rappel out of the scoreboard with the dog, which is a really cool thing.
To which the dog did not like that at all.
Yeah.
Cool thing about the dog is the dog's a Belgian Malinois named Diego. And Diego belongs to an Army Ranger that was severely burned and blew up by an IED in Afghanistan named Omar Avila.
Yeah.
Omar lives down in Texas, and Omar come up, and he does a lot of good work for Sons of the Flag as well, and donated his time and his dog to, I guess, to be a famous dog coming out of the scoreboard for the Cowboys game.
Speaking of which, so I watched the video on Omar, and he's doing a lot of weightlifting. So he's got this video, not picking up weights. He picks the rack up of all the weights on the rack and moves the whole rack.
So Omar's
I was
missing-
like, whew.
He's missing part of his hand and part of a foot. And what do they call the Olympics? He holds a world record in that? Paralympics. He holds a world record for Paralympics.
Wow.
In bench press, I think he told us the other night he did 465. 475. His deadlift was like a small Volkswagen car. I mean, he's just unbelievably strong. And he said, and he talked about, John talked about the bullying. Omar told the crowd the other night when he was speaking on behalf of Sons, as he was telling his, when he got back from the military, being disfigured and burned and missing body parts, that he was intimidated when he went to the gym. He really didn't want to be around other people. He didn't want to lift. And then he said he saw the record for the Paralympic and bench press. He's like, well, I warm up with that, so let's get it on. And now he holds all the records. So he's a great guy and a great service to our country and American warrior hero. So
That's true.
But yeah,
He's actually, his name's on the book on the back cover, isn't it?
That's right.
Cool.
Yeah, we wrote that book and we wanted everybody's story to be told from the person. So you understand that it's a soldier from most wars, every war since World War II, and then 2 New York firefighters. But we wanted everybody's story to be their own. So there was no touching to it, or nobody else had any hand in it. They got to tell their story exactly the way they did. And I got lucky to narrate some of it. And on the back of the book, all the endorsements are from friends, because we wanted it to be 100% authentic. So. And that's another good way to get your story out there to the masses of how you can help other people. So, pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you're 12, you're getting at that age where you're fixing to start deciding on what you're going to be the rest of your life. Every day's, your choices you're going to make is going to, predict what career path you take. What's in do you have anything lined up, kind of thinking about anything yet?
Yeah, I'm just focusing on getting my homework done.
Keep it simple, brother.
Yeah.
One step at a time.
Keep it simple. I like it.
I think he's asking what you want to do.
What do you think you want to do for a living?
Probably fireman.
I like that. It looks like you're on the right path.
But he can do whatever he wants.
That's absolutely.
Well, even if you're a firefighter, you got to have another career besides that too. So, right?
Yep.
It's very impressive to meet you. Very inspiring. You should be proud of yourself.
Thanks.
Man, a few words.
Yes, he's focusing on his homework.
Yeah.
John talks enough for all of us. We're good.
Yeah.
Hey, that's good. We need that. A spokesman.
This is going to be a fun year. I mean, they keep getting better. FDIC is every single year just keeps getting better.
Yeah, this year we weren't sure if we were going to make it. And our hotel reservations got messed up, and so I said, well, maybe this year we'll take a break and we'll hit it again next year. And this one, no, we're going to FDIC. We can't not go. So
that's fantastic. We feel the same way. We've been able to build our network of our organization up mostly through FDIC. It's been incredible. You get to meet incredible firemen, and we've been very fortunate where I think I'm a little biased, but I think that we have the strongest firefighters on our team. You might want to think that you're coming up the ranks to join our team.
Yeah.
Him.
Mm-hmm. And you too, of course. Yeah.
I'm used to taking second stage for him, and that's great. I'd rather have it that way because he's the future.
What else do you do for fun? You play video games?
Yes, and I play soccer. And
Nice. No instrument?
not a music guy. I like listening to it. Can't play it. Can't play worth nothing.
You a Cardinals fan?
Yes.
Absolutely. They lost last night against the Cubs.
Cardinals and Blues, right?
Redbirds. What about Dallas Cowboys? Oh, whoa. America's team, son.
Right now he's focusing on the Rangers.
John Walters. So I met
The
John.
New York Rangers?
The Rangers lost last night too. Jeff was at the game.
Oh, I was at the game last night.
Oh.
Cowboys kind of brought me and John together, and John in the Sons of the Flag in a way. After 9/11, John came down to Texas to go to Cowboy game.
Oh, Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, he's a big diehard Cowboy fan.
JD's
So
there now, isn't he?
I picked him up at the airport. Never met him before, but I told our association I'll pick him up. And he gets off the plane, and we're talking on the phone, and we meet, and I take him around, and we've been friends ever since. We hit it off pretty good, and he was cool in my book because he was from New York and liked the Cowboys. I still don't understand that, but he told me, he said it's America's team. So
that's what I told Roger Staubach.
I don't watch a lot of football. I'm not like I watch the Super Bowl. I will watch the Super Bowl. It's the ones like football.
Did you watch it for Coldplay or did you watch it for the football game?
Well, I watched it for the football game because my friend's a diehard Broncos fan. So
I think you're saying hockey's a little bit tougher, is what you're saying.
hockey. I watch a lot more hockey than football.
There you go. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. You watch the Detroit Red Wings at all? No.
I do want them to beat Tampa Bay because I'm very bitter about Tampa Bay being the Rangers.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
The Texas Rangers right here. Yeah, absolutely. I don't remember beating us,
That's
though.
a baseball team. It's not
Hockey. I'm from Texas. We don't.
Because it's so hot. There's still hockey rink.
Hey, I think our Dallas Stars are probably going to be the NHL champions this year. They probably got the best team in hockey.
Yeah. Keep saying that.
Yeah.
He's actually got a war going on right now with one of his teachers in the school because she's a diehard Blues fan, and someone decided to start postering her door with Rangers posters. So they're going back and forth. She got into his folder the other day, though, right before we left to come out
Like
here.
the Pittsburgh Penguins and Blues posters. I'm sitting there, and I have a friend named Chase. He sits behind me. I'm crumbling them up, throwing them at Chase's lap. Crumbling them up, throwing them at Chase's lap. I'm just like going like that over my head. He's catching me them all. He has like a handful by the time I'm down. I'm like, good grief, woman.
Yep, you're gonna be a fireman. Right? Clowning around.
Yep, practical jokes already.
You're gonna be a fireman.
You ever put any flour in your bed?
Not his.
When you hit 18 calls, we'll tell you lots of tricks.
Oh,
You should hear.
already got enough.
You have one of those little black hoses at the sink in the kitchen that sprays water?
He knows about that one. I did that one at work.
We have a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, our teachers, she has teenagers. It's kind of funny because when we take her off topic so easily. And so we'll like start saying stuff. And she said that there's one time that her teenagers, they wanted to see if a fart could burn. And so they farted and it went.
That's
Miss Mosier goes, yeah, it apparently can because
That's what we're learning in 6th grade.
well, that's Miss Mosier.
I guess it's getting
Now
you
you
set
know
up
why-
for chemistry next year.
Now you know why Chief Holton says you can't grow up and be a firefighter.
That's right. And that is definitely the truth.
So we might need a supervisor for some of our burn camps to keep an eye on the adults, so keep us posted.
They do a burn camp in Missouri. We actually collect for one.
Nice.
It's good stuff. We did all these guys that volunteer for Sons of the Flag. So the year before we donated to, 18 camps?
14.
Across the country. And last year we did a bunch more, so we're looking forward to this year too. So it's a lot of good stuff, and it's pretty satisfying too. So
yep.
The guys that volunteer actually to be counselors at the camp, when they're done with the week, they said that the experience is life altering. That's how good of an experience it is for them. Life altering.
It's a true story.
Yeah.
Pretty strong words.
Yeah, it really is, and you can't get anything more powerful than that to change your entire life because of it.
No, he's pretty hard in the fundraising for the stair climbs. For the Clayton one, 2 years now, he's gotten over $500
Wow.
Really?
raised.
Can
Yeah.
you teach me how you do what you do? Maybe.
I keep trying to get him to teach me. He tells me that it's just nobody can say no to this face.
Yeah,
I said to him,
it's
well,
called you're
use
still
it
young,
while you
it's
can
you.
because eventually that runs out.
Well, then we're gonna have to take a selfie, aren't we?
There you go.
Oh,
That's pretty good stuff.
good for you. It's important.
Just make sure if you get any tattoos like Ryan has, you get permission before you do it.
Oh yeah. Not a big fan of needles, so I don't think so.
Yeah?
Me neither.
Scared of needles, right?
Yeah, a little bit. No, I don't think anybody likes needles.
Nope.
But you live once, or my personal opinion, you live once, and
I couldn't do EMS stuff, too many needles.
yeah.
Oh, he can do it. He just like doesn't. He just doesn't like getting stuck with them. He can stick them in somebody. He can't do it like.
What is everybody's plans for FDIC?
Brotherhood Bash tonight.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's gonna be crazy.
So we got the Fool's Bash.
What does the FOOL stand for again?
Fraternal Order of Leatherheads. Why didn't I just ask him, right?
Get you go.
See?
Are you going tonight?
Yay.
He's a little bitter about that since they can't get in under
Maybe your
21.
dad will. Are you going?
Yeah.
Well, maybe your dad will record Ryan tonight because Ryan's going to be the MC of the Fool's Bash tonight. He was asked, I believe, last night they asked you to do it.
About an hour ago.
About an hour ago.
Nothing like
So
last minute, right?
he's working on his speech right now.
That's pretty organized in my book. They didn't wait till tonight.
Yeah, at least it wasn't like at least it was like 30 minutes away. We're like, what?
He can handle it. He's quick on his feet.
It's all good. We're gonna have fun.
When it comes to writing, I need like I can write for somebody else. I can't write for
That's because you're
myself.
too busy tearing up papers and throwing them to your buddy instead of practicing, huh?
That was posters of hockey teams I do not like.
You didn't teach my daughter how to do that, did you? Because her room is a mess and stuff thrown all over the place.
Well, that's her problem.
That's just typical kids.
You
Just
didn't see
checking.
my room.
Yeah.
So the Fools is
Remember that
tonight.
love you
Fools
feel
is tonight.
before from him? It's gone.
Yeah.
You'll fit right in.
Yeah, Fools Bash tonight, and what else is, what's on tap for the rest of the week?
Stop, drop, and rock and roll is tomorrow, Friday, I forgot what it is.
Yeah, so $20 cover. They got a band playing, and I think Captain Dugan, he's going to be singing.
We're gonna go to the Terry Farrell Fun Party at Basie's.
Very fair fun.
Craven Bay.
I don't know what that one is.
It's William Red.
The Terry Farrell Fund is having a party at Basie's
Was that Thursday?
Thursday
Friday?
night,
And
yeah.
that's the 4K or the 5K before that.
And the 5K and I heard there's a stair climb.
Stair climbs
Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go to the stair climb.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with Captain Dugan. We're gonna shake everybody's hand doing the stair climb. So that's a pretty cool thing. For me, it's a big deal, personally. So we get, a couple hundred, I don't know, a few hundred people climbing in,
I think there's more on 343. I think they might
don't be
have-
surprised if I stop you and say, who are you climbing for?
John, you know
There
what's
you
cool about that? You guys, you know what's cool about that? I spoke out in Sacramento a couple of years ago, a 9/11 event out there. And guys, everyone that does a climb, including yourself, you wear somebody's name,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I stood at the top of, we were right next to the Capitol in Sacramento, California, the building. And I would see a guy come up. I lost 33 friends on 9/11. And I would say, I said, that was my friend, I'd tell him a little something about him, and it meant a lot to me, but I shook guys hand after hand, and I got my ring on, and it was tearing my fingers up, but it was worth it. It was worth it. I'm up there sweating just to say thank you. Guys, don't forget.
You know what, Jeff, that you mentioned that, so it's a big deal to guys like myself and yourself. The guys that actually do the climb, it's a huge deal too also, because they take it personally, that they're finishing a climb that those guys didn't get to finish.
Absolutely.
Our Tennessee task force leader, Jensen Pillant, I thought he was going to be in here. I don't know how many stair climbs he's done, but he goes across the nation and competes. He does the one, he told me, in Seattle where they're on air, timed and 72 flights. And I said, well, why do you only climb 72? And he said, well, that's their highest building. I'm from Texas, so I don't know. But he goes all over the country and competes. And then Ryan Brotherton's our Ohio task force leader. Ryan has probably climbed in, I would say, close to 20 stair climbs, maybe more than that.
He'll be the guy that you see on doing the stair climb that should be wearing an extra large shirt but has a medium on.
Or a small. You'll know him right away.
He's got very big arms. But he's got very big arms, but he's only as tall as you. And he's like 30. So.
Like a T-Rex with little tiny arms.
He is a T-Rex.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna have
So as you
fun.
can see, our team of volunteers, we don't have much fun at all, hardly.
No.
And to top that all off, instead of renting hotel rooms and putting 2 guys in a room, we put 15 guys in a house. So
There you go.
what could possibly go wrong,
There's a lot of snoring.
I bet you guys go through a lot of beer.
No, not really. John doesn't
We
drink.
did in the 80s, that's why we don't do it anymore. So we gave that
Most
up
of the guys
too.
don't drink alcohol at all, believe it or not. Yep.
So I think we're gonna have to wrap up because we got more people coming in to do more radio shows.
Right.
So this has been a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to seeing you at the stair climb.
Yep.
And our booth.
And
I was
come
gonna
by
say
the booth, yeah.
we'll come by the booth and we'll see you at the Bash tonight. Stop, drop, rock and roll tomorrow.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm putting in a good
You
word
need my
for you
ID to
into
get in?
Fools.
you're almost the same height as me.
He might.
Is your mom with you? Oh, there's mom. Hi, mom.
Hi.
That's a proud mama right there, son. I can tell you that.
She's sitting there going, there's gonna be no living with him after this whole deal.
It's like this every year.
That's what she said. She's just his publicist
I just
because
take him where he's supposed
she
to be at
books
whatever time.
she books where he's supposed to be when and
Nice.
Nice.
Keep up the good work.
You want to help out Sons of the Flag at all? We need some bookings in places. Well, thanks, guys, man. We had a pleasure.
Yeah.
thank you.
Booth 5568,
6'8", yeah.
Sons of the Flag.
I won't forget.
And the Joey D
Okay.
Foundation.
Yep. And
Yep.
you come over there, we'll let you bust open our forcible entry prop that Heath Flora has set up.
Actually,
E-Force, yeah.
you want to tell him that you got to do that?
Oh yeah, I've done it before. It's fun.
His door, where everybody in the whole convention
they
center
had
are
one
beating
down
on
at
the
the
door.
firehouse.
Oh, he's
I
got one at the firehouse.
Yeah, we had one at the firehouse for training, and one night I took him down and let him do it.
Can he beat yours open? Is he holding on? Yeah, when you come over to the booth, we'll watch you and Dad can beat.
We'll see if Captain Morris is here this year. I'll give you a couple lessons on it.
Ooh. Yeah.
Would it be even better? Captain Morris, I think, holds the record on the door and fastest to open it, so maybe we can get you to break the record.
Saw the two biggest guys says y'all two knock that door in.
So
I'll stand back and watch it.
Yeah. Are we allowed to get machines? I can knock that door in if you
Thank
start
you very
the
much,
timer.
No show machines.
thank you, man. I had a pleasure. Thanks.
Unmuted. Welcome to Fire Medically Speaking with Mike McEvoy. Here's Mike.
Good afternoon and welcome to Fire Medically Speaking. Today is April 20th, 2016, and we're live from FDIC 2016 in Indianapolis. And I have a guest here with me from GEMS Magazine, AJ Heitman.
Mike.
Welcome, AJ.
Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here with us. And I'll call our listeners' attention to a couple of things before we start chatting. Our web page on fireengineering.com under the Fire EMS tab has a whole bunch of resources for fire-based EMS providers. And our Facebook page, Fire EMS, we invite you to visit that and like us. And we might as well have AJ talk a little bit about the GEMS site, gems.com.
Well, I was just roaming around as the exhibitor's set up, so I'm going to be blogging a little bit of some sneak peeks of some of the latest designs and EMS equipment. So, you know, www.gems.com, and then my blog will be on there.
Good. And then if you're listening live and you'd like to call us, you can call in on our call-in number, which is area code 760-454-8852. So 760-454-8852. We'd be happy to talk with you at any point. And we'll mention that our show today is sponsored by Wright Rescue Systems, and we appreciate their sponsorship. So we'll chat a little bit about some things that have to do with, how about some controversies in EMS?
Whew. Well, there's always controversies in EMS. I mean, right now, the
there's a new bill that's circulating around to try and get the FDA more in line with what EMS is doing with controlled substances. And that's actually something that anybody can lobby their congressman to help us with, because right now, technically, some of the things we're doing are illegal.
Right.
And we want to come into fold with that. What else? I mean, in the volunteer side, we're still having problems recruiting and retaining volunteers. We have sometimes a mass exodus of people. As soon as you start to pay one, everybody wants to be paid. So that's an issue.
Definitely.
And we have our ears up and our psyche ready for some terroristic acts, because our people in DC and Homeland Security tell us that something's coming. So we got to be ready for that. So there's a whole host of things we can talk about.
Definitely. And then I guess here's a couple of interesting sort of controversies. One of them is the whole thing that we're seeing now across the country of backboards, getting rid of backboards. And you're a member of the Eagles Coalition. So they did a survey to talk a little bit about who's still using a KVD and who's still using long backboards. And
I think everybody's still using long backboards to get people out of wrecks, which is what the original intent was.
Carrying device.
Yeah, there's a carrying and a moving device, but there's not necessarily a need for everybody to be on a backboard anymore. And I see more and more systems moving to get them out, put them on a vacuum mattress, get them out, put them on a regular mattress, put them on a half vacuum mattress. So I think there's a trend more in patient comfort.
Yeah.
If you've ever been on a backboard, even in training, it's not very comfortable.
No. Or even just put them on a stretcher, secure them to the stretcher with a collar on, take them to the hospital in that fashion.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, too, a third of the population is morbidly obese. I'm overweight. You lay me flat for a trip to the hospital for 20, 25 minutes, I'm going to be in trouble, respiratory wise. So you've got to sit me up a little bit. It makes no sense if somebody normally has to sleep at a 30-degree angle that we're putting them on an ambulance backboard and driving them to the hospital, when in fact we know they probably don't have neck injury.
So you think that trend has pretty well swept the United States now?
I think it has. I think a lot of the major systems have done it. A lot of the smaller regions have done it. And usually then it just kind of ripples down. People wait to see what's happening. But, I'm not saying that you don't need backboards anymore, but you certainly don't need them on everybody who says they have neck pain.
Yeah, good. Now, the other one that I see kind of being a little controversial is in the new AHA guidelines, they are no longer recommending pre-hospital cooling of post-cardiac arrest patients.
Yeah, and I think that there's kind of a misnomer. We really did a really good, the author that was in our supplement on the AHA guidelines really put it forth, and that is that it's not that cooling is not effective, but it's effective if the hospital's doing it. But any cooling is good cooling. They're not saying don't do it, but if you're not starting it, they're saying that there's not science that says that you need it. But his recommendations were, if you're going to start cooling, there's now new gel pads that are cooler than ice. You don't have to worry about fluids. I think the number one reason that the Heart Association was upset about cooling was that we were dumping 2 liters of fluid in, and we were overloading some people's hearts.
Ice saline.
And so, the thing is, you can start some cooling. Any bit of cooling is okay, but you really have to watch the amount of fluids that you give.
And actually, Dr. Freese, when they were looking at the cooling in New York City,
right,
they saw a significant increase in pulmonary edema in patients, and they were giving them ice saline as a means of cooling them.
Yeah, and John Freese was at EMS today, and I think his message was, hey, folks, don't misread the Heart Association guidelines. They're not saying that cooling isn't good. Cooling absolutely works, and as a critical care person, that cooling works. What we're saying is that you don't want to spend a lot of time on it in the field. Ice packs and gel packs around the neck are good. Start them in cooling and take them to a center that will continue cooling, because the results are phenomenal in some systems with cooling. So, and then the other thing is, quite candidly, some systems are continuing the cooling because that kind of forces the hospital, if they're on the edge, to continue the cooling process. If you think you have somebody who's going to be resuscitated, start cooling them and take them to a cooling center, because you kind of force them into that whole system. What we've seen in EMS, as you know, particularly through the Eagles, is we're changing the role of hospitals even in EMS. There were hospitals that weren't using EasyIO, for example, that were calling Houston fire rigs to come in and start an EasyIO. until they could convince their administration to get the EZIO gun. There were hospitals that weren't using CPAP and ER. They had to call respiratory, and EMS started coming in with CPAP, and now ERs have CPAP. So in some respects, we're driving the course of care, which is really good.
Yeah, definitely. Well, why don't we talk about CPAP for a couple of minutes, because we had an opportunity, AJ and I, to meet with the state EMS folks here in Indiana, who are actually meeting jointly at our conference here today. And we had a little discussion with them about levels of care.
Yeah, there was a lot of interest, and I think that it's become a BLS skill. And in fact, their question to us is, around the country, how many states have adopted it?
Right.
And the answer is quite a few.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science, right?
No.
And it's amazing. I think it's probably one of the biggest innovations in the last century for EMS.
Yeah.
Certainly in the last 10 to 20 years.
Yeah. And it has the capacity to actually be, I mean, it's non-invasive. It's a good patient comfort thing. And you buy disposable CPAP devices now. You don't need an expensive thing to do that. It's almost interesting, AJ, the level, you and I have both been involved in EMS for longer than many of our listeners are old.
Right.
But it's amazing the way that things like you consider CPAP and EpiPens and Narcan and
even tourniquets.
Albuterol, tourniquets, things that used to be only within the scope of an ALS provider, now are BLS modalities.
Yeah, and Brian Bledsoe at EMS Today talked about there is no more BLS, ALS. There's just different degrees of care.
Yeah.
And it's not rocket science. In fact, we had a discussion with the Indiana Commission about the fact that nobody ever taught paramedics about infection and the infection that we were causing by intubating people. And the reality is, if you don't handle an endotracheal tube right, they get a ventilator-associated pneumonia, and half of those people in some cases die. Yeah. And with CPAP, you're taking grandma who doesn't become tube dependent and ventilator dependent. And my grandma, if she goes in the hospital now with CPAP, is probably going to be out for the next holiday, whereas somebody else's grandma is going to be on a tube, going to become ventilator dependent, and probably die in the hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that, but I mean, in critical care medicine, if you take an 85-year-old and you put her on a ventilator, it's awful hard to wean her off the ventilator. And we know CPAP works, right?
Yeah. Now, if you're a fire-based provider, so one of our groups is what we call engine company EMS. So these are fire-based providers that do EMS first response, and they're looking at EMS from sort of an outside perspective. What would you, as the editor of GEM, say are things that we could expect to see evolving in EMS over the next few years? What are some trends that you think are?
Well, there's a big trend on taking a big engine company and turning it into two smaller engine companies.
Okay.
I went down on the floor here. There's 800 exhibitors here, and I'll tell you what, there's an awful lot of squad vehicles with pumps down there. And so, I have firefighters that are saying, we have to respond with 4 people, 2 in, 2 out, the whole thing. Well, you can respond with 2 trucks and meet at the scene. And 2 guys go in, park 2 vehicles, one can pump, they have compressed air foam. That's a big trend. Tulsa Fire is doing that. A lot of people are doing that.
Right.
And then the other trend is going back to good BLS engines versus all ALS engines. And I know that's blasphemy for some.
Yeah.
But the reality is we have horrible skill decay. And it costs a lot of money to be retraining everybody. I just spent some time in Seattle, and they're not paramedic engines. They just respond. They do what they're doing. They do it very well. They do perfect CPR. They have AEDs. They have suction. They do all those things. And I've been a paramedic for a long time, yourself included. And 80% of what I do is basic life support.
Mm-hmm.
So we've lost a little bit of that. But I think that in the fire side of things, active shooter, there's a lot more that fire needs to understand about active shooter, because in all probability, when an active shooter incident happens, an engine's going to be there even before an ambulance.
Mm-hmm.
And they have to understand that it's going to be a high hazard situation and begin to set up a tarp or at least something in the warm zone. And I see more of a trend that people are starting to get involved in that and starting to get interested in it.
What's your take on in an active shooter situation? I think we have a couple different schools of thought. One school of thought is that we could take people who are specially trained EMS providers, maybe firefighters, maybe third service EMT or paramedic types, and train them to make entry with a second wave law enforcement team versus we set up casualty collection points outside and we train law enforcement to a little bit higher medical care and have them bring people out.
I'll give you a two-sided answer because, I do a lot with mass casualty and if you practice it and you're good at it and you dual train with your police and you understand what's going to happen, then go into the warm zone. If you're not going to do that all the time, then make sure, because I do a lot of training with law enforcement, if I got law enforcement that can use wound clot dressings, they can do carries, they can use tourniquets, drag them out to me in a super warm zone, I think that's probably what we're going to see more of.
Yeah.
Because, if you get a firefighter or an EMT who's not really training with the police and you take them into the middle of a school shooting and something goes wrong, there could be some panic. And it's not that the guy's or girl's not professional.
Right.
It's just they're not familiar with that particular situation. Cops train and train and train. If you're going to train with your police department, I'm all for it. But I would not want to take a rookie EMT or a rookie firefighter and put them in on a second wave of police and have something go wrong and have them not be protected. The other thing I think we mentioned this morning is that San Bernardino showed us that at an active shooter scene, even if we're in a cold zone, we still have to have a couple of police officers out there to protect us.
Yeah.
Because terrorists and other groups that are anti-us want to kill us.
Yeah.
And so I need some protection.
Well,
EMS isn't armed, so I need somebody who's armed protecting me.
And I guess that's always been one of my concerns is I think if you take EMS providers and you send them in with supposed cover from law enforcement and all of a sudden that situation deteriorates, that cover may move into do some other action and leave the EMS people uncovered, basically, which, that's.
I say,
it's a concern on my
if I'm
part.
there and I'm doing triage, the last thing I'm going to think about is saying, hey, could I have 4 police officers with guns to surround me?
Yeah.
But an incident commander should be looking and saying, danger, patient collection area, cover.
Yeah.
That should be on their sheet.
Good.
An active shooter worksheet.
Yeah. We talked a little bit, and actually we had this discussion this morning with the folks from Indiana about numbers of paramedics and skill decay and some things that now obviously, so the National Registry is changing their way that they do examinations and changing the way that they validate practical skills. We have a lot of people in the United States now recertifying through continued competency assessments through CME programs. And there probably is not a rigorous amount of testing of skills going on at regular intervals after you're certified. So, one solution, I guess, is like Seattle, where the number of medics per capita is very small, so their skill set is very practiced, very frequent, versus places, and I think in a lot of fire systems where everybody's a paramedic and very few people get a lot of use of their skill. So what are some, in your mind, what are some solutions to both of those problems to say, is there a way that we could bolster the ability to practice skills versus are there ways that we can continue to assess competence?
Well, ideally, when you're not in a bid situation, you could rotate people onto a busy ambulance and give them 1 week on the ambulance and 3 weeks on the engine.
Okay.
That type of thing. That becomes down to a labor management situation, so that's not always good. Another is there's a lot of systems I know they'll go from fire station to fire station and review skills, let people practice in a kind of a low stress environment. And I think that that's good as well. Nobody likes to have to come in on a, Monday afternoon and be sitting in a class all day. So anything we can do to lessen that, I think, is better. But, the fact remains that, for example, intubation, if you take away a lot of what you're doing is intubation and just teach rescue airways, you would eliminate a lot of the concern. Because the concern is, are we doing it right? And then the other side of it is maybe add some video laryngoscopes and, maybe add some capnography, which doesn't cost a lot of money, and make sure that even if somebody isn't 100% certain, they haven't tubed somebody in some cases 3 years, as we've seen from the data,
Yep.
that they have a backup situation.
That's good. That
Now,
makes sense.
I wanted to mention, we were talking earlier about the tourniquet thing, and everybody thinks,
Yeah.
well, we've added a tourniquet to every unit.
Right.
So
A tourniquet.
Engine 4 comes and has a tourniquet in their trauma box.
Yeah.
But some guy puts a garbage can bomb and blows up somebody and they have 2 arms and a leg missing. Or like we said in Reno, they had a plane go into the stands at the Reno Air Show, and there initially were just 5 tourniquets, 1 per ALS unit, and they had 15 people automatically with amputations. So, the golden rule that I see going around the country in a lot of systems I've been at is that they'll have a Pelican box sitting on an engine that has 10 or 15 tourniquets in it and wound clot dressing and sucking chest wound dressings, and they call it all kinds of things. Where I was the other day, they called it a blast kit.
Okay.
And other people call it an active shooter kit. But, it's an oh my God trauma kit.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get a major school shooting, you got to open this thing up and have tourniquets galore, even at the Boston Marathon now. Boston was using latex tourniquets for years before everybody thought it was fashionable, and saved, we did an article where they only saved 8 in a year, but that's 8, including a police officer.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the Boston bombing comes, and they improvised. They had a lot of things that they were doing. They used a lot of latex, and now even Boston has kits. Pelican box, full, tourniquets, $25 a piece.
Yeah.
That's a small expenditure.
Right.
And I personally, I'm a believer that I think every paramedic, every EMT, every firefighter should have a tourniquet on them. If not for themselves, but for their buddy or somebody else.
Well, these pants are designed with a little tourniquet holder pocket.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, they are. And this month in GEMS, we had one of Dr. Kane, who's one of the best military docs. He wrote a really good summary of why a tourniquet, how to carry it, how to store it. And the reality is, you can use it for a lot of things. And the reality is, you can hold a bandage down with a tourniquet. You don't have to tighten it.
Yeah.
It's a great piece of Velcro.
That article that he wrote on tourniquets, if you're a listener and you're here at the show and you swing by the GEMS booth and pick up this month's issue, that is an insightful article with a lot of pearls about using tourniquets that you wouldn't get in a classroom.
You'd never get it. No, you'd never get it there.
Yeah, that was good.
So there's a lot of changes coming. There's still some states where you can't give aspirin, you can't give an EpiPen. We had a big discussion about Narcan this morning, and grandma can go to the drugstore and buy 4 milligrams of Narcan, and there's some EMTs in this country that aren't allowed to carry Narcan. It's ridiculous. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But they also asked us, didn't they? Do we think everybody should be given Narcan?
Right.
And the reality is, I don't want to wake somebody up who has a $50 high who wants to kill me when I wake them up. So I'd like to give them 2 milligrams of Narcan, but not have somebody goon them up and have them wake up crazy and be attacking a police officer before I get there.
Yeah, that's true. And we had an incident in Long Island recently where a fire chief gave a couple of doses of Narcan to a neighbor, who came home and the kid woke up and did some intense assault on the fire chief and put him in the hospital, actually. I guess the thing about that in the scheme of things is that you think about how many doses of Narcan were given out a day in the United States, and I'm sure it's in the thousands, thousands of doses. My own little county, 250,000 people in upstate New York, were giving out at least 8 doses a day of Narcan. So you multiply that by everybody else in the United States, and boy, we're
But what kills me is we put all this emphasis on Narcan, and we don't retrain our people in the art of bag masking.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray Fowler did a great article on bag masking. I mean, next to endotracheal intubation, bag masking is the way to go. And maybe because I'm older and I was taught under first aid and other ways to really make sure I could bag mask somebody upside down and under a car and all those kind of things. If you really want to have a good time with a drill with some of your people, turn a couple of tables over in your training room and have people bag somebody from all different angles. I mean, it's an art form. It's kind of like, but once you get it,
yeah,
I'd rather bag somebody.
It's true. Well, I know
the proper way.
When we train anesthesiologists, we spend a lot more time on the art of bagging than we actually do on intubation. So it's certainly it's valuable.
And when I went through paramedic program, I sound like Saturday Night Live. In my day, they made us go into the OR, and we had to bag the patient when they put them under.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of pressure in that.
Yeah.
And today, I talk to people as paramedics that never touch a live patient. That's pretty scary.
Yeah.
But when they had you go in and start the IV on their patient and put them to sleep, inject, in fact, before we could put the tube in, we had to put the long xylocaine.
Yep.
And numb them. And, oh my God, I can remember them saying to the nurses, these are paramedics and they have a lot more emergency care training than you. And I'd be praying, please don't ask me the questions. You know? But to me, you know, if somebody said, what's the number one skill that I think people are weak at? They rely on everything else but the diagnostic.
Yeah. Well, and this is interesting too, because, you know, I think I've had this conversation with you about topics at conferences, and you mentioned this morning about magazine articles, and it seems as though one of the things that we need more presentations that are of a clinical nature. We need more articles that are of clinical nature. And I think that's probably part of the educational gap, and, you know, where we're letting our providers down.
Yeah, it's no longer that it's just like an index card of all these different topics, but I mentioned earlier about the acid-base article that was in
Right.
GEMS.
Yeah.
One of the highest read articles we've ever had in GEMS. And my staff was like, wow, this is pretty deep stuff. Well, people need to understand deep stuff.
Yeah.
They need to understand how the body is trying to compensate through respiratory breathing.
Right. Yeah.
So we're going to do more of that.
Good. Yeah, I mean, we had a speaker at New York State EMS conference last year, actually, that did a class on eye emergencies, and you would have thought that it was like some gospel brought down from above. People really appreciated a class on something simple as eye emergencies, which I think is intuitive to an emergency physician, but really not something that providers get a lot of education about. And there's probably a number of topics like that.
Well, we hear a lot about expanded scope. And what I see as expanded scope is we've added so much that we want the EMT and the paramedic to know that we forgot about things like fracture management.
Right.
And, you know, you can lose 1,000 cc's through a femur fracture. And I see people all the time say, just put him on a backboard.
Yeah.
He's still free bleeding inside of his femur. And so the reality is there has to be an emphasis. I can't tell the number of people or pictures that we get at GEMS that I can't use because you've got an open fracture. Nobody's even bothered to immobilize
Control the bleeding. Even. Yeah.
So sometimes it's, you know,
interesting.
Can't see the horse from the stable.
Yeah. There's a complicated problem sometimes. So any closing comments to wrap up? We're going to be here at the show for the next few days.
No, I think it's, I think as we've talked this morning about violence against fire and EMS providers, everybody's got to have their back. You no longer can just walk into a home. You go into an apartment, you got to have somebody watching the hallway. There's some nasty stuff going on out there, and we're not safe.
No.
EMS is not safe. We're targeted. It used to be we were, you know, oh, here comes the EMS crew or the fire crew to help grandma. But now we're getting ambushed and we're getting all kinds of things. So just be careful.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well,
Thanks,
thank
Mike.
you a lot for joining us, and thank you listeners for listening. We'll wrap up the show for today at FDIC 2016, and we'll look forward to seeing you here at the show or hearing from you at a future edition of Fire Medically Speaking. I'm Mike McEvoy.
Muted. Thanks for tuning in to Fire Engineering Talk Radio.
And we work cheap.
Welcome to Tailboard Talk with Dane Carley, Craig Nelson, and Jeff Wallen. Every month we explore different topics of interest to you, our cohorts in fire and emergency services. So whether you sit back and listen, sound off on Thanks for tuning in to Fire Engineering Talk Radio. Each week, our host will introduce you to a various cast of characters you will only find here. Each host will share experience, knowledge, and expertise regarding their years in the fire service, allowing you to call in and speak with them live. An experience you can only find on Fire Engineering Talk Radio. So thanks for joining us. Enjoy and stay safe.
Hey, good afternoon. It's Wednesday here at FDIC, man, the greatest show on earth. And sitting here with all the fellows from Traditions Training and got invited to do our radio show. And I guess we'll just kind of jump into it because two of our instructors, you can see they're with the ties. They're the authors, Dan Shaw and Doug Mitchell. They just got done their class. And how many do we have in our class?
I think close to 400 was the tally. So
wow.
What a great day, a good message. We had a lot of fun teaching the class, as Dan and I always do. And just, it's so nice to be here at FDIC around so many motivated firefighters and fire officers who are looking to bring something back, once the week is done. So much information. In fact, while there's only 5 of us here right now, 2 of our guys are presenting at the moment. Sam Hiddle and Danny Doyle are both presenting programs now. And we have a few others during the week, right? Nick and Tony and Ricky, you guys have classes coming up.
Tell us who's the senile old guy in the front row, Dan.
Bill Guston, always a student of trade. Bill's got 40 years in the job.
Yeah, he's got a flip phone.
He does. He's got a flip phone. We helped him into his chair, and he did great stuff. And he's still demonstrating to that whole group that it's important to remain a student of the trade.
I'm sure the silver alert's probably going out at the nursing home as you speak for Bill, and we'll have to wheel him back there anytime now.
Right, and as he has said, he said usually we'll steal about half of yours, he'll steal half of our stuff for his next performance too. So which is all good. He is a good man.
And then starting tomorrow, we got see who's the earliest one. Oh, both of you at the same time. So Nick was supposed to be doing some hands-on classes, but Nick got under the weather. That would be the unshaven, disheveled look that he has going on. He's been under the weather for 2 days and didn't get to go out to hands-on, but you did go out yesterday. How many students did you and your group go through?
We had 55 students in Truck Essentials on Monday and 55 on Tuesday. I can't tell you much about Monday's class, but I can tell you that the Indianapolis Fire Department's EMS staff is great, and so is the area hospitals. After we overcame that hurdle, though, it was a great day. We had a good house, tore a lot of stuff up. Had a bunch of guys from all over the country, and my group had kind of a little bit of I wasn't the only hiccup. There were 2 other instructors that couldn't make it, so we had a couple of fill-ins. We had Anthony Petruzzi, who is a captain in Pittsburgh, and who is Big Petruzzi's son, actually, filling in, and then Jim Materi from Seattle, and it was kind of cool to work with a couple of new guys and pick up some different perspectives and tips and stuff that those guys use. So 110 guys over 2 days. It's a lot, but it was good.
All right. And then tomorrow is your class is
tower ladder class. Yeah.
Okay, that's just it. Just tower ladder class.
I believe the textbook title is Effective Use of Tower Ladders in Tactical Operations. And in this interactive hour and 45-minute classroom session, we'll be covering a dynamic series of tactical scenarios regarding the use of your tower ladder. We'll talk about tower ladders versus aerials, straight ladder trucks. We'll talk about mid mounts versus rear mounts. We'll talk about some positioning essentials and some challenges, and we'll talk about specific tactical uses as far as heavy duty operations or master stream operations, victim rescue, access, and some technical rescue.
Slow down. Let's not give the whole class away, Nick, please.
And thank you for attending.
All right.
Effective use of tower ladders and tactical operations. We'll see you next year at FDIC.
It's just me. It look like Nick's
I know.
with the two cops.
You look like Secret Service agents.
Now you can go back to the hospital.
Like a fence jumper at the White House.
Go put your IV back in. Right here. Like Will Ferrell in old school. So. Then Tony, you're fine. He did some truck stuff, and then you got what at 3:00 on tomorrow.
Yeah, so tomorrow afternoon it'll be Combat Ready Engine Company. So the basis behind that is obviously I'm sure everyone knows about the Combat Ready class being the foundation of our company. Basically our main class that a lot of our stuff spawns from. So this will be no different. This is going to take that mentality and wrap it specifically in the engine company field of work. We'll go over a lot of stuff as far as operational issues or hose line deployments, but we're also going to touch on things such as specifications of apparatus, things to look at that make your job a little easier, or people's jobs easier in the future. Besides that, the class will be interactive. Hopefully a lot of good questions will come out of it. Pass a lot of ideas around, and again, it's an hour and 45-minute class, so we'll try to pack as much good stuff in there as we can.
And I did notice that they do have platforms in there, so people will be able to see you.
They do. I have
speak,
platform shoes, and they have platforms, so I'm actually going to be almost 5'7".
That's very good. Stilts.
So they'll be able to see. And
My
then
suit won't be as good as theirs.
I don't think this is a dating show or anything, right? So you don't have to worry about. It's not a dating show, right? So that's like the date thing. But
No.
One of our instructor Tony just did get married this year, so got a new wife, and
Yeah, congratulations.
Has been
Thanks,
taking
old boy.
has been taking a little bit of a break from teaching. He's getting ready to get back in the swing of it and starting here at FDIC. And with Bob was nice enough to let him come out here and teach a class.
No better way than that, pal.
How was your class, Ricky?
Back on the bike.
Well, my class or Larry's class?
Yeah. Larry's class done by Ricky.
Larry, we miss you. Larry, we miss you. Ricky really misses you, but we miss you too.
Yeah, I need my yin and yang, like you and Dan do. Tuesday, I taught waving red flags. That's a class that Chief Schultz and I do pretty much, like everybody else here around the country, wherever it gets booked. And this year, Larry put in for it, was the lead instructor, but unfortunately, Larry had a death in his fire department. A family member and the president of the volunteer fire company was at, so he unfortunately had to cancel. And also, it obviously Larry's pretty important in dealing with line of duty deaths, and obviously Prince George's County, Maryland had a tragic line of duty death for Skillet, last name.
Schneider.
Paramedic Schneider, who passed away after a shooting and line of duty death, and we're still pulling for the volunteer from the Morningside Volunteer Fire Department who was shot 4 times, 19 years of age. Thank goodness he was 19. I don't know how any of us older people could take four hits. So he's still recovering. So Larry, those funerals are all this week, and Larry's taking care of those. So I taught waving red flags for 4 hours. That's no fun without my man Larry from Intercourse, Pennsylvania. So shout out to Elmer and the Intercourse people. But we had a pretty good group. 35, 40 people in there. Everybody stayed all 4 hours, which is a good thing. And we got through a lot of material, and it's a lot of incident command and a lot about setting up command posts and making your fire ground successful. So,
Well, command, what?
I'm sorry.
All the chiefs went, oh wait, I might be the only non-chief in the room. That's scary.
And then tomorrow's the cornerstone class of traditions training. I think Dan and Doug do a portion of it in 25 to Survive, but Nick started it, not the program, but Nick started teaching it here. The program here, and then Tony took it over for a year or two, and then I'm taking it on this year. So you can see it's just not one person's a view on it. We kind of pass the program around. If you've seen the program, regardless if you've seen the portion Dan and Doug's 25 to Survive, or watch Nick teach it, or watch Tony teach it, it will be different than the way I teach it, and we kind of mix all that together. This is our rid ourselves of complacency. Always be prepared, do your job correctly, and don't be lazy, which is, I think, the biggest part of that. There's a lot more adjectives that we could put out there, but I don't think you're allowed to say them on the radio at all. But it's a very important class to us, because not only does it encompass everything that we believe in the fire service, but also pays homage to one of the founders of Traditions Training, which is Lieutenant Peter Lund. who we lost in 2005. Tragic loss to our company. And not only our company pays tribute to Peter Lund, but if you've ever gone to a man and machine class or listened to Pat Nichols teach, they all teach for another company called PL Vulcan, which is also a tribute to Pete Lund. So great company, great instructors over at that organization. They have a great relationship with them. But we have a host of instructors out here now teaching Troxel, Danny's out here, and so it's all good. So other than being able to teach a class and Bobby Halton put you up for a week and fly you out here, if he could start doing the food thing, man, it'd be like gold. But with all the great food that's out here, but we're certainly appreciative of the editorial advisory board or the FDIC advisory board for picking all of our instructors. They do a phenomenal job every day of the year, and then this week we get to showcase them on the national stage and of course the international stage now with all the people that are coming. So, what are some of the Doug? What are some of the things that you've seen this week that?
Man, I tell you, we did pop into the back of quite a few classes. Some of our guys that we're teaching and some others, just to kind of, the great thing about coming here is, as you mentioned, now even an international conference, is that while as different as we may be coming from different parts geographically, it does appear that for the most part, the similarities and the problems and the difficulties that we're facing are not really that different. As far as working with limited staffing, with reduced staffing, and how to overcome fireground challenges that present themselves. I feel like when you pop into the back of these classes, and you stay for an hour or 2 hours, or now with everything being 145, that's on my agenda for tomorrow to be able to go to a couple more of these classes. But there is really a common theme, and knowing one that the problem that you're facing in your fire department, you're not alone, and the resources that you can gain and the people and the contacts you can make here at this program are unlike any other, whether it's social out at the Fool's Bash later on tonight, whether it's warming up for the run tomorrow night. Just so many people with so many different spins and takes and solutions to firehouse and fireground problems.
Dan, what are some of the observations you had this week?
Well, and I think a question, I'm just thinking when Doug was saying that, and I think, T2 and Nick can speak to is, because you guys are doing a class on the engine and truck, and this is one of the things that Doug and I talked about in conversations after the classes. What would you guys say is right now for the tower ladder and the engine company in this modern generation we have? What's the greatest challenge you guys face that you'll probably address in your class for the engine and the tower?
I think would be reaching the hose bed.
Low hose bed.
You guys can't tell how short I am, but that's what the jokes are all about. That's why I'm in this chair. Anyway, no, I think the biggest challenge that people ask about, especially pertaining to the engine company stuff, is going to be there's a couple different things. One's I don't like to call it a generational gap, but I guess a gap of people handing down experiences they have or have had to the younger people coming in the door, and those younger people are starving for this information. So, I think you'll see that this entire week, obviously, as you go to classes, is people really trying to just figure stuff out for themselves because maybe they're not getting exactly the instruction they want, at their own, respective fire department. So that is one of the challenges I think there is out there. And I think also the engine company, a lot of times it gets looked at as the basic, even though it is the basics and you have to be really good at the basics, that people discount it as, oh, it's just an engine. That's just pulling hose, where, what we show and what a lot of people have probably seen from their own experiences is that, getting anything over 200 foot of an attack line in service might not be as easy as it seems on YouTube or, watching a video. So,
YouTube doesn't solve all the problems in the fireground?
So, and then that's one of the biggest things that we address, and it's just that back to basics, and then people that can't get the experience, maybe, at no fault of theirs, but, they're seeking the experience from people that have been places or seen things that they haven't yet and maybe will in the future. So I think that's the biggest thing of the engine is just that experience. It looks easy on TV. It looks like it can be an instant, I can pull that line if we had to go into the building and go to the 8th floor of this non-standpipe department building. But I think some people really want to know what it's like to do it, and they want the coaching, if you will. And I think a lot of times they're not getting that. So I think out here they can. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I get to put out there, from our position. So
And I think exactly the point you said. If you make a stretch into an 8-story building, it's not just one dude doing it.
Yeah.
So you need those 4, 5, 6 people to all be in that same quest for knowledge and overcome that gap, because you have a technology-driven generation and you have a trade-driven generation, both working hand in hand. How do you bridge that gap? And that's something for Doug, like you as a company officer. How do you bridge that gap?
Well, one is you got to lead by example. I firmly believe in that, and the company officer sets the tone. And as far as bridging the gap between those two generations, it's not easy to do. And the easiest way that I find to do it is by taking it to the street, going out and looking at your buildings and walking through your communities and your neighborhoods, and actually putting your hands on those types of things, and having that older hands-on generation speak with and work with the newer technology-driven generation to show them, to pass on those those tangible tips. It's easier to be done on the street than it is in the firehouse. That's how I feel. I take advantage of every run, and every time we were out the door, and just going to get a meal or doing building inspection, to walk the guys through things and to show them things, and have the senior guys kind of bring the junior guys in on board and say, hey, listen, if we had to force this type of door or work on this kind of a gate, how would we go about attacking this, and so on and so forth.
You gave us the whole dissertation of your class, so I really don't think we have to ask you any questions, but
Thanks,
Doug,
Tom.
what was your answer for Dan's question?
Yes. What's the challenge you think in today's generation with the tower ladder?
I think the biggest challenge, why I wanted to start the tower ladder class, was because, I came from an environment like Kentland and the tower I was assigned at in DC, where, the guys that I work with really knew the rig, and they really knew how to do incredible things with it on fire grounds and overcome a lot of challenges, and not to be too cliche, but to get a lot of things done that other people couldn't get done. Or maybe that was phrased another way. But anyway, and then I would go other places, and I would see people that didn't know how to use these things at all. They didn't know how to position them. They didn't know how to overcome obstacles with them. And for them, they were a big rain bucket. They were a big nozzle in the sky, and it was 70 degrees up and 90 feet in the air, and that was that. And so I wanted to do the class to kind of overcome, the misperception about, how tower ladders could be used. What, were they just a ladder truck with a bucket on the end? Did they have the same capabilities? Were they positioned the same? And what were the alternate uses? These things nowadays cost over $1 million each, whether it's a straight ladder or a tower ladder. And I think that, it's important that departments understand the capabilities and restrictions of each type of apparatus, and that they understand how, once they get it in their firehouse, how to put it to best use, because it can either be a huge paperweight or it can be the best asset on the fire ground, all depending on your pre-incident knowledge and practice with the vehicle, and your knowledge in the moment of how to put it to use. And I guess the final thing I really wanted to do is I had a lot of great driver operators that taught me how to use that thing and taught me the things that I show in that class. And some of them are not around anymore. And, I think that's kind of my way of paying that information forward.
Now, with the truck coming class, you're going to address like proper application of creams for bed sores and sleep cycles.
We are going to talk significantly this year about dehydration, IV lines, anti-nausea medicine, and late night trips to Indianapolis hospitals.
They didn't pay you though, did they?
For what, going to the hospital?
Making sure.
I think I'm going to be paying them for that.
So Doug, what else we got here we think we need to cover? We cover all the bases here?
Yeah, I think we did obviously thank you to the Penwell team, FDIC, everything from the people, the books and video, to Diane and Ginger and the whole staff there have always been accommodating, and we are very grateful to just be part of this program. Thank you to our radio show hosts for allowing us to have that platform on a monthly or near monthly basis to be able to help us get our message out there. We certainly greatly appreciate it, and we know that it's a privilege to be able to have that. From all of us, we certainly thank you for the opportunity. Enjoy the rest of your week here at FDIC. There's so many great things to do and see. Once the main floor is getting ready to open up here soon too, you'll be able to take a look at the rigs and the new tools and equipment that are out there, and the old tools and equipment that are tried and true. So from all of us on behalf of Nutrition Training, we'll sign off for now. Thank you very much again. Enjoy the rest of your week and stay safe and stay combat ready.
Welcome to Keeping Fire in Your Life with urban firefighters Erich, Rhoden, and Ray McCormack. Here's Erich and Ray.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Keeping Fire in Your Life. I'm Ray McCormack. Today with me is Lieutenant Mike Champo. Erich is moderating Science in the Big Room right now, so he's unable to attend the show, radio show. It's been a great week. We got here on Friday. Both Mike and myself are leads for a hands-on training here at FDIC and have been for quite a few years. So that brings us in early. Most of the attendees, the classes started on Monday, obviously, the classroom sessions, the conference, pre-conference sessions, and the HOT. Both start on Monday. They run Monday and Tuesday. And Wednesday starts the shorter duration classrooms, the hour and three-quarter classrooms. And Mike will have one, I'll have one. We didn't go yet. It's been a long 5 days, I'll tell you. I mean, we both had travel issues. Crazy stuff has been happening here. We do a lot of hard work. Saturday and Sunday are the setup days, and it takes both days to get your class up and running. It never seems to be short, as Mike can attest to. Sometimes his setup's even harder than mine. But again, we're up to Wednesday already, so they had the opening ceremony this morning, went well. Bobby handpicked the speakers, and the reaction, of course, is always interesting because the keynote is an important part of the show. And it can set the tone for the next couple of days, set the tone for the year, in fact. And it's an opportunity for FDIC International to show its, put on its best face, so to speak. And the vendors are here. They're starting to get the booth set up. There's a flurry of activity here. We had to return our vehicles for the hot training. We were in the back of the show area, watching all the big fire trucks come in. There's everything here. Mike, you want to introduce yourself and talk for a bit?
Well, first of all, I appreciate you filling in for Erich. I can't believe you brought a guy on with hair. But the chief is downstairs busy moderating. I appreciate being asked to come on up. Like Ray, hard to believe 30 years of my career has passed. I don't even add my volley time into that, but 30 years and I'm living the dream. I'm right here at FDIC looking out the window on the showroom floor, and I can't even tell you, I feel like a little kid all over again, right? It doesn't feel like 30 years. You get out here, you're reborn. You're around guys that love the job like you, and you get a breath of fresh air. It's like taking some cough medicine with codeine. I get all pumped up and happy to see everybody, but I appreciate it. Like Ray, I have a little, I started here years ago working with Chief Salka and Get Out Alive and the bailout. And I said, why don't we have a ladder class in with the SAWs? Back then it was ventilation, forcible entry, search. Okay. And we had nothing in ladders. So they gave me the opportunity to do ladders. And then they asked me to bump it up a little bit and do truck essentials. So we're somewhere between 5 and 10 years.
So you're on your third hot class. You participated in 3 hot classes.
Yes, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I've done 4 hot classes. My first hot class was live burn under Mike Lombardo, who became chief of Buffalo Fire Department in New York. And I just saw him the other night, as a matter of fact. He's in town. And
there's a funny story. I'll cut into that. I got to cut his train of thought in.
Okay, be careful.
Yeah, I will.
Might lose it.
FDIC West. Let's put 2 houses right next door to each other. Which way's the wind blow? Usually from the west to the east. Who's on the east side of their burn building? Us teaching ladders. So we didn't need masks, but when we were throwing the ladders and really doing simulated rescues, they're burning the building next door. Half the students couldn't see us in the window because you remember that?
I wasn't there for that one.
Oh, I thought you were at that FDIC West.
No, I wasn't there for that particular one. No.
I had to make a little laugh there because I remember those days distinctly.
Oh yeah, and So, like you said, Mike was doing the burns and Timmy was there as well doing the burns, and just a phenomenal class and a great learning experience for me in live fire training and how the class should be done. And Mike, the model he used basically is the stuff that 1403 has already finally adopted. I mean, he was definitely ahead of his time with that. And that class ran for a few years here at FDIC, and then it morphed into the 1403 training program that they currently do with the fellows from the Illinois Institute. And so there's still people here that have been here a while. Like I said, I had 4 of them myself. I worked in another one, live burn building instructor, which kind of followed a similar theme, but it was really more about being a better instructor, which was a concept that isn't really done that often, but it was very interesting. A lot of times the HOT is more of a skill-based class. This was, while it gave skill-based, it was also about how to instruct in a training environment and in an active training environment, not just a classroom for most instructors. So it involved positioning, getting everything set up for the students correctly, and monitoring the students, not just teaching them. So it was interesting. And then after that, I did my first HOT class where I was the lead, and that was called Hose Loads and Deployments, which I felt was a wonderful class because it gave every student there the opportunity to see a different hose beds, because what happens with all firefighters is they go to their fire station to work and they inherit the hose bed of that department, and basically for most places it stays relatively unchanged, and they don't get much of an exposure to additional ways that other people are doing it in different parts of the country. And it's really the only way to shop for one is to see people who are proficient in it doing it and explaining it to you, and you getting the opportunity to take a test drive on it, so to speak. And that class went for a couple of years, and now we did Urban Essentials, which was kind of based on the magazine in a sense. We do big city tactics. I don't have to worry about, we had a fella in a class once, he said, "We don't have window gates where I work." I said, "Well, this is Urban Essentials. I don't know what to tell you. We have them here because we have them in a big city." Now, that's funny, but the reality is when you're prying or you're trying to remove something, those skill sets are universal. So sometimes people get caught up in the bigger picture when it's the details you have to look at. And, you know, any instructor will tell you, you see varying. Some people love things and some people just don't get it. And it's kind of, I don't know where that disconnect is, but it's with everything. You do see it, right?
I see that, and I think what a big point you mentioned there, even back to the hose loads, is the quality of the instructors here from all around the country. You bring guys that are doing this every day with different type of loads, and you know, I go back to the day years ago I went to ride in Newark when I was a young volunteer, and I rode with this Chief Charlie Plath, and we caught a couple jobs in Newark, and I was shocked to see in the old days they used to have just a conventional cab, and the guys rode the back step. The other companies would run down the street with a hand truck, and their load was on a hand truck, had little sides on it, and they put it right next to the pumper, the first due, and they stretched down the alleys. It was smart. They couldn't get down the street, the ladder trucks, they'd run right down their hand truck, hook right in. And I was just like, well, there's a company thinking, you know, they didn't have to, there was more hose left on the rig, but they had their line and they knew their nozzle worked, things like that. So,
well, it's all, like you say, you can have a great idea. There's thousands of great ideas here on the showroom floor. And there's even more that we don't see that never get to production. And coming up with an idea is typically kind of easy. It's the implementation. And for fire departments, I'll lead this right into my class for tomorrow, the chief officer's role in creating enhanced engine operations. It's kind of a long title, but it also tells you that we need chief officers to step up and be the people that make the changes, because they have the power to make the changes. The firefighter who's interested in the card or some sort of standpipe fold that might be different, while their interest is wonderful, they often don't have the power to get it implemented, and it falls on deaf ears as it goes up the line. Somebody doesn't like it, but when it's the chief that sees this potential to make their system work better, then they can formulate the plan and then get other people involved in it. So top-down implementation for a lot of this stuff is what's really necessary.
On that subject there, like you were saying about a chief implementing, I wonder how many chiefs might have a little, even for a smaller department. I mean, we know we have our research and development. They're always looking at stuff, bunker gear, new gloves, but are there chiefs looking when a firefighter comes back? And just per se, through fire engineering, I met some of these students years ago, and they were impressed the way Urban Essentials and Truck Essentials worked with the New York roof hook. They had never seen it before, the workable ends, both ends, the flat side. And they bought one themselves. They chipped in $1 meal, and they bought a tool. And the chief didn't like that. It was from New York, but they were trying to show him. And, he finally contacted the manufacturer. He let them keep it on the rig, but there was reports. I mean, he did research. He called the company himself, talked to Bobby Farrell at Fire Hooks, and they talked for hours. And he gave him, I think, 30, 60, 90 days to try the tool. And the chief, he changed his mind. He's like, wow, this thing can do a lot. And that's what it takes a lot for a chief to realize, hey, the Indians out in the street are seeing stuff that I might not see behind the desk. And I better look into this, or I have to delegate it for somebody to look into it.
100%. The chief, we're asking them to open their eyes a little bit, specifically on what could make it better. And that's all, even though that part is difficult, the implementation is the other half of it, because it's interesting first, and then when time goes on, the interest tends to go down. So if you have a good plan and you stick to it, and a timetable that's realistic, because these things, you don't change a fire department. You don't turn it around on a dime. It takes a while. There's a lot of things that have to be done. It's a lot more involved than just giving an order on a fire ground. But like you say, the chief can either be the saboteur of the idea or the promoter. Sure. And I know with my class, I'm hoping that I reach a lot of promoters. And your class is tomorrow also, Mike?
Yes, I'll be lecturing tomorrow afternoon, much like I think the previous radio show. Nick and I, we teach in Truck Essentials together. We both picked tower ladders this year.
Oh, okay.
He's doing tower ladders in the morning. I'm doing one in the afternoon. I'm sure you'll get a little southern taste from him, and I guess you'll get a little northern taste from myself.
But you both have the same foundation, don't you?
Yeah, it's funny. We have the DC, which everybody tells us stand from Don't Count Fire Department, because he left and he's in Columbia now, and I left and I'm in New York now. So
yeah, but it counted.
It counted.
Yeah.
5 hard years in some tough neighborhoods, and I'm glad I had the experience.
No, I know. I'll tell you something. When I was bouncing as a lieutenant in the FDNY, or newly promoted officer, you tend to bounce around in different firehouses before you put in a request to work in one permanently. And it's a wonderful seasoning for someone, because you meet a lot of different people, there's varying neighborhoods, and it keeps you on your toes, because you're experiencing something out of your comfort zone. And I worked in a firehouse where Bob Farrell came from, Ladder 31. And I had a wonderful experience there for like 6 months. And then I got assigned to 69 engine. And I wouldn't give up those 6 months for anything. They were just wonderful, and gave me an opportunity to see how a tower ladder operated. I came from a rear mount company. So just a wonderful group of people. And like I say, some experiences, they're just phenomenal.
You talk about the history of that. I'll admit it. I was that young kid that, I guess, eighth grade, ninth grade, Report from Engine 82 came out. I read it. I probably read it again the next year. And then when I finally realized my dad knew Bobby and introduced me, but recently we relocated there. Now, I was a fireman in the South Bronx, just across the park from 31 Truck. And so I used to run in with them with 19 with the fires over there and stuff. But recently we were relocated over there. And I had some issues with my daughter at the time. I really don't carry my cell phone at work. I always on a run, throw it up in my gear locker, which is right by my bunker gear. But I brought it with me because I was worried about my daughter and a doctor's thing. But I brought it. When I was driving over there, I remember there was an old firehouse book by Jill Freeman or something.
Yep.
some beautiful classic black and white photos. And as I pulled in the firehouse, I remember being in 44 truck and relocating there, fires with 31 truck over the years. And I had a little nostalgia pop into my mind about, you know, I've been all these places and I have nothing to prove, or like a memory. And we backed the rig in. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take a picture for Bob Farrell. Told him I'm working in his old house, you know, and just for a joke. And so I remember Dennis Smith too. They had a picture of the old guys leaning up against the brick wall with the garage doors open. And I grabbed a couple of my guys and said, come on, you know, and I took a picture leaning up against it. I'm like, it's a, you know, to me, that's famous. You know, you can say what you want about the book, but I think at that time that was revolutionary for the fire service, that book.
Oh, yeah, no, it definitely was. It was the first kind of, I guess, inside story, if you will. The other nice thing about you're talking about the memories going on there. I mean, you have a long career, you have a lot of memories, and, you know, you work on those. They're not, every event in the fire service isn't terrible. There's a lot of great stuff you can remember, too. And you were just talking about taking that picture. Jill Freeman, 2 retired firefighters from our house, came in one night. We're taking her to dinner just recently, about a month ago. And they took her to dinner and they were talking with her about the book, obviously. And she said that our firehouse, Engine 69, Ladder 28, and the 16th Battalion, had a lot of photos for the book too, but they were stolen out of her car years ago. So it's mostly Bronx in that book, but it was supposed to be Harlem as well, according to what she told them. So that was interesting. We had, you know, even back in those days, you had a lot of fire photographers. Of course, things weren't able to be put up instantaneously. In fact, I was just talking about Harvey Eisner the other day about his famous photo of the blind guy in a fire escape. And the backstory was, of course, he took it. He was like a stringer for Daily News or whatever it was, and took the picture. You couldn't really tell if you got it. There was no digital photography, and then had the roll done. And the next day they ran it as I think the front page. And it was a phenomenal picture. I mean, it was just at the right time. Just something that will live forever. It's just it tells a wonderful story, and you know, we're still being. Luckily, we still have people who want to take pictures of fires. So,
I think speaking of the pictures, just on a whim, we had a job with your company Saturday before Easter. Good top floor job. I know you guys, we spoke about it, but a local citizen went up to the adjoining roof and took some unbelievable video of it. And with this YouTube thing, you can use it as a training method. Yeah. And we pulled it up in the firehouse and we watched it. We would stop it and just talk about it. And you know, we had some trench cuts going. We had some heavy fire. A lot of people in New York always wonder, or even myself when I was in D.C., wow, New York gets a lot of multiple alarms. And I didn't realize New York had so many buildings so old with so many old gas lines hidden behind the ceiling and stuff that still have natural gas charged in them. So the little wax plug might fall out, and now we have a gas-fed fire. So
yeah, well, yeah, we definitely have a lot of buildings that are older. We also have a lot of big buildings also. Like, it's funny, most cities tend to be high rise and then it falls right off. New York doesn't fall off dramatically for quite a while. I'm going to give the phone number out here just in case anyone wants to call in, and it's 760-454-8852, and we're sponsored by RIT Rescue Systems here today at FDIC. If you haven't been out to FDIC, you should really get yourself out here. This is the Super Bowl of fire shows. I'll give you the number one more time, 760-454-8852. Someone said, don't tell people to dial 911 because there's no 11 on the phone.
You just said something this morning. I know this is crazy. We were just talking, and this kid said to me, I finally got here. And I was like, you know what? We should put this like on a payment plan. Like, you know, you take $25 out of your union dues, you take $25 out for an IRA. Hey, take $25 a paycheck out. You won't miss it. Put it in your FDIC fund.
Yeah.
And come out to the Mecca of firefighting.
Yeah, no, I know. I just met somebody else, same thing. First conference, thrilled to be here. You know, and the other nice thing is you can meet the authors that write the magazine every month, like Mike. He has his column on the back page there every month. And you can meet people that you see in training minutes. I just did 6 training minutes while I was here over the weekend, engine company training minutes, and I guess they'll be out. I don't really know when they'll be out, maybe in the fall or the beginning of January. I'm not sure. Their cycle is 6 months, so I'm assuming they're in the fall. So Mike and I have done the training minutes multiple times. Usually we did them together. He'd do a couple, I'd do a couple, so we could watch and like technically edit for each other, because
We're gonna
for
tell
us,
a break, tell the truth.
yeah, I mean, but for us, it was all about quality. Not that I have to watch what he's doing. He knows what he's doing. But, you know, when you're filming something, you might misspeak, you know, and you want to catch that. But
Or you've said it to me once, and I said it to you once. We did something that went so fluid. I said, why don't you do it again and have them zoom in on that specific technique so we can split the screen. Like, we fed off each other, which was great, you know?
Yeah, we were there in the beginning, and hopefully we'll continue to do them. And they've always been important to us. That's key. We're not looking to do all of them, but when we have a clip of 6 ideas that we think are good enough to pass on, we'll pass them on. We take it very seriously because it's important information. It has to be delivered correctly, and it has to meet a standard. And I think when education, the conference here is about education. It's also about tools and trucks and everything else. It's everything. It's all encompassing. But the knowledge that we pass on has to have some baselines. And we agree with that. There's certain, I'll just say something like, you know, if you're going to enter a house, you want the hose line charged with water before you go in. You want to test the line, bleed it out. That's a standard. If you were to have some training minute or something like that that didn't say that, I would be like, whoa, we have a problem, because that's just not like a little conflict. That's a big problem. You know, some things, there's going to be variations in every classroom, but there are some tenets of firefighting that we have to push out as a standard, because we don't want people getting hurt unnecessarily. People are going to get hurt in the fire service, but we don't want them getting hurt on base mistakes. You know what I mean?
Right. And on the opposite end, I think we both also, we don't go home and create, oh, what can we throw up on this training minute? Like I said, seasoned veteran right here with over 30 years, another clown, myself with 30 years. We're trying to promote what has been done on the street. Every trick of the trade isn't just a trick. It's something that maybe's worked in one specific moment. It might not work every time, but it's helped us perform our job easy. And, you know, we don't just show the tricks on training minutes, but we show you the variations.
And a lot of it, I mean, I can only speak for myself, but I'm sure Mike will echo this. The tips that I come up with, I either think of them or they come to me while we're drilling. And I said, wait a minute, we can make a modification here, or we can do something different, or it just grows off something else that happened, or you see something. I just videotaped an engine operation, a training engine operation, and I saw something very interesting that I might be able to develop or pass on. So they have to pass the standard, and I know we both have high standards, and I would say I'm sure most of the videos you see are wonderful, and that's because they have to be. We're not just, it's beyond just being important. It's life-saving, and you know, we have a great time, but there's a time for the real thing, and there's a time for make-believe, and we never want to be make-believe. You know, that's not where we're at.
I agree with you. And, you know, something funny about that too, from experience. I wish I had a camera, and it's hard when you're an instructor. I just like, one day I would like to bring somebody out with us when we're at the Dugan. And one thing that's awesome about FDIC, the last 4 or 5 years, I've had nothing but awesome vacant buildings. And this particular building this week had 3 screen doors. And one of the pistons were broke, so they want to slam, and we always talk about that. You know, chock works great. Sometimes they have a piano hinge. And so when I glanced at the one, I'm like, oh, good, we can show them that you can take the back of the Halligan and just hit the rain cap at the top and bend it over. Well, the house had 3 screen doors. Every one of them was different. You only could do that on the one. So while we showed the students, hey, here's a little trick, it was great. They went to the next one, they went to do it, totally different frame.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's all about that size up and down, but at least you looked over there and stuff. So.
Right, the variation. Yeah, I was doing a forcible entry station in my hot class, and we were working on a prop, a brand new door prop, and, we were kind of field testing this prop as well and giving the manufacturer feedback on it, which is something they enjoy because it's getting a lot of usage, and the instructors know their way around the machines and know what makes a good machine and what really doesn't. And we were putting them through it, and you'd vary how much wood you'd put in there. They were using a wood based prop, and where you tightened it down, how they approached the door. Were we going to do it this way or that way? And that's all about knowledge and experience. I just came from Steve Robertson's engine class here just before we went on there.
There's a picture of me, and there were some hose around me.
That I didn't see. I can't testify to that. That would be very odd. But he said experience matters, and I couldn't agree more. Experience matters. In the fire service, like any other profession, there is no way you can say experience doesn't matter. I don't want to go to a doctor who just came out of medical school to do an operation on me. He might be wonderful, he or she. No, thank you. I'd rather have the person who's done it 100 times if I can.
I wrote an article a long time ago, Eyes, Ears, and Experience. And it basically was you could watch a guy drill, you could watch a YouTube video, you could watch training minutes, you could listen to one of your lectures, one of my lectures, you could read one of our columns, but unless you go out and do it at 3 o'clock in the morning when you wake up, you drive to the firehouse with your blue light on, get on a rig. What did Ray say? What did Mike do with that? If you've done it before and you get that tool in your hand, you're more likely to have a successful outcome.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We just downstairs right below here is the books and videos store, where you can buy all kinds of training videos and books by authors and read the stuff at home too at your leisure, which is great, and have that CD available on your computer, and you can bring it to work and show other people what's going on. So another way to pass on the information. Oh, that's another thing. The Pass It On book. Pass It On 2 is out. It debuted at the show here. I'm going to be signing copies. I have a piece in there called Fireground Leadership, and I'll be signing copies. They have a mass signing going on Friday. So that was fun. I did it last year as well, so I'm looking forward to that.
On that, speaking about books and video, I actually just assisted. There was a book that we're redoing, Tools of the Trade.
I saw it downstairs.
And I don't think it's in full print yet, but our big thing to do was to upgrade it a little bit for the younger firefighters getting on a job with the tools, not having all the knowledge of it. Instead of just reading about it, I haven't seen the DVD yet. It's still being compiled, but we want to have a guy be able to read about it, but then watch a segment of that specific tool.
Oh,
just to
that's
enhance for a younger guy, for that.
So a video?
Yeah, it'll be on a DVD that comes, I believe, might be with the book all together.
Right.
So he could read the book, read it, but he can also watch the DVD about what they're talking about the Halligan tools.
And the author is Rick Fritz, right?
Yes, I
And
assisted
yourself.
him. Right, yeah. We wanted to do a new edition, and Penwell was kind enough to jump on it after one of their other projects, and I guess it's in the works, so.
Okay. And I'm going to be teaching down in Rick Fritz's area in the fall. Yeah,
I hope you had better weather than we had the other day. I take him teaching with us the other day, and he gets a beautiful, warm, heated floor firehouse. We could have ate off the floor. I go outside at 9 in the morning. It's a little cool, 40 degrees. The temperature dropped in 20 minutes. I was in the snow all day long in April. Right?
Yeah, there was some heavy duty snowflakes. Yeah. But you know what? Finally, you got to experience what like an engine class is
I
like.
got wet.
We
You're
actually
right.
get wet. I know the truck act. You come with your coat and jeans and boots and gloves, and you're all set. Meanwhile, I'm getting saturated upstairs. I get it.
Speaking of that nice new gear that he gave us to use too, that was beautiful out here,
Tetchen, right?
Yes. That and MSA gave us a nice hard helmets to wear. They're very light. And
Oh yeah, I would like that.
comfortable.
I would
Gorgeous,
like that. I would like that. Yeah, FDIC hot instructors for the most part got outfitted with brand new gear, not quite, it's not turnout gear, but it's lightweight
It's
instructional.
good for wildland, I think they said,
Right.
in extrication.
Right,
Almost
wildland and
compact
extrication.
or something.
It's like pajamas though, it's
Oh,
nice.
it's gorgeous.
Yeah, and hopefully I get a set of that myself.
Stop by their booth. and they
Yeah, I'll have to
size you
stop by the
down
booth
there
and
or
get
something,
size, yeah, exactly. So, like, we're having a great time. Yet, last night I was out and I ran into a few big names and people I respect in the fire service. So Ted Corporandi,
So I ran into Ted.
Lombardo, of course,
Right.
you know, a few other people that were here years ago and met them then, still friends with them. Just wonderful people in the fire service. This show attracts wonderful people in the instructor cadre. That some of them are done; they don't instruct anymore, but they were cutting edge back in the day.
Here's a question for you, and somebody hit me with this last night. Do you guys think you know more firefighters from other departments or guys in your own department? Like, with coming to FDIC with close to 20 years, I'm going to say I know just as many guys outside the department.
You know a lot of wonderful guys outside
Yes.
the department too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Across
it's
the
not.
country.
It's not just. We've been blessed with great firefighters in New York City. My whole career, there's very few that don't meet the standard, and we set a pretty high bar. And met some wonderful people out here that I'd be more than happy to ride on the rig with every day, but only get the opportunity to see them a couple of times a year. And Mike's class, my class, we try and draw from a pool of people that reach around the country, so we get that variation. We're not just FDNY centric. We expand beyond that. Even though I could fill my, the class with 10 FDNY people, no problem.
Sure, but no, like you said, and everybody brings a little something different to the table.
Yeah.
With, different technique from their area. And not only that, I think a whole different lesson, life teaching plan when they come out.
Mhm.
They're just geared differently than that FDNY mentality. So,
Well, the other thing is too, like a really good instructor has depth. They they might not be totally deep on maybe say go from engine to truck, but if they're in a truck, they'll be able to do forcible entry, ventilation, search, the roof. They know all that stuff. And that's the kind of instructor you look for, because there might be, like we had some illnesses and things here this week, you might have to plug somebody in and you need that depth. If you just take somebody that's just good at one little thing and now you have an issue, that person's not going to fit well into that spot. So I know we always look for people who have talent that goes around, not just small.
I agree with you 100%. And here's another one from FDIC. We used Josh Materi. One of my members had a family emergency, and we needed a guy. And I knew Ray had an extra guy, and I had taught with Josh over the years, and a couple of our other guys didn't know him. And I let him come in the first day. He ran our forcible entry saws, and then the next day, one of the other guys wanted to do something else. He jumped in with the door right away, and capable, and just a great guy to have around. We were able to bounce around instructors.
Yeah, he did a wonderful job for us in Urban Essentials last year, and luckily he was able to help Truck Essentials this year. So
I appreciate it. Thanks. I owe you one.
all right, no problem. I'll take you up on that while we're here. How long are you here till, Mike?
I'm going to leave on Saturday. I have my lectures tomorrow afternoon, Tower Ladder Tactics and Tips. I might as well tell them right away, I'm 30 years paid. And yes, I'm famous for one thing, forget the back page or training minutes and that. I am the officer that crushed the New York City police car with the, so there'll be a slide in that tomorrow.
Thank you for that, Mike.
I just try to get it off my chest and be, positive right now.
Oh, yeah.
There's a slide in there. It was a complete accident. The police realized.
Sure it was.
It wasn't done on purpose.
Of course not.
But it was just one of those freak things,
Uh-huh.
Unbelievable. So.
Well, you didn't actually do it.
No,
right?
I was in charge of the company, but
You'll take full responsibility.
I have to. I'm an officer. I have to stand up for your men.
There you go. It definitely stand up for your men.
Yeah. No, I'll be out on the floor. I have. We had the book signing. I have the lecture tomorrow. I have some things to do out on the floor. I also want to attend some classes myself. I always go see some people, pick out some things I'm interested in. I don't go to all truck classes. I bounce around, some leadership. I could still learn, how the fire service is changing since I've been a boss. You've been a boss how many years now? I mean, a long time. 22, you've been an officer. And I can tell you what, from that time to this time, our whole depth of management and being a boss, our leadership skills have changed.
Well, we're lucky in the sense, I agree, they've changed, but we're lucky where we come from, FDNY. Like I said, they bounce you around, so that makes you work with a lot of different people. And our scheduling and how our firefighters work is not identical. We don't work with the same people every shift. So we have to get familiar with 20 other people, and we're both in double houses, so double that number. And we interact with these people, not all the time, some we see more than others, and we have to get a handle on them and how they are, and their skill sets, their personalities, their work ethic, everything. And so you really learn to deal with a lot of different people, not just a couple that are on your apparatus. So it's a wonderful leadership experience for us. And it also helps you out in the field, because you're going to deal with all kinds of people that have all different issues. And I think it gives us a good experience level.
No, I definitely agree. And on the other end, I mean, and I know, the other night, trying to throw a quick little drill together, just something different. It doesn't have to be 2 hours, but I get the guys starting to drill. We're having a good time, and I know we all have families and this and that, but right away, who's answering his cell phone, and now he's leaning on the wall and he's over there talking. Like, to me, the way I was raised was, hey, can I call you right back? If it's an emergency, hey boss, I have an emergency, fine, take care of it, handle it. But all right, say goodnight to the kids. I understand that, but really, hey, listen, we're drilling right now. Could I call you right back? Give me 15 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, that's the cell phone explosion and craze. Yeah, it becomes part of everyone. I mean, I'm not going to say I'm without sin on that one.
No.
Yeah, but you're right. There's a time and a place for all that stuff, and people just have to use common sense and good respect. You wouldn't want that. Nobody wants to be interrupted. It's like bringing a newspaper to a training session.
Right.
And you think you're going to read a newspaper in front of the instructor. I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. Just put it away and call it a day. But, I think most of the instructors here keep their people engaged pretty well. That's another trait that you learn as a boss, to try and teach your firefighters. You have to keep them engaged, and because you're their positive or negative influencer. You have a big influence on firefighters, and we both do leadership classes, and we talk about all this stuff because it's important. Leadership. Mike's an experienced company officer. He's been around a long time, and the length of time is important too. Some people want to say, oh, it's a year every, it's the same year 20 years. No, it's not. And you gain a lot because you pay attention, and that leadership, you're not going to get that from somebody who has 2 years as a company officer. It doesn't work that way. And I see our experience and leadership abilities as top notch. I mean, you had Chief Salka. He wrote a book on leadership. He went through the whole thing. He's retired now, but, he basically talks in his book about the New York way and how it helped him and all of this stuff. And, that doesn't mean that we have to be the New York way. We're not. We're beyond that too, and so is he. But the system really helps you.
No, I agree with you 100% on that. And, one thing, I'm sure if there's any young officers out there, one tip that I would say on that is, over the course of the years of being a firefighter, I knew I took the lieutenant's test. I was going to get promoted, and I just would gear up and watch my officers.
Mm-hmm.
I loved one way a guy drilled, how we could be just coming back from a food on a stove run or a stuck elevator. Hey, whoa, put his apartment door right here. And he engaged us, caught us off guard, and, hey, let's knock on the door. And the person opened the door, and we got to look at all the locks. And it turned into a 15-minute skill session on the apartment landing. And we took up, and I'm like, wow, that guy handled that so fun. We all learned. There was a drill. I had another guy, fantastic. I actually just had dinner with him down in Florida. He's retired now. And I said to him, I'm like, I always use your way to critique a fire after the fire. And he's like, what? I said, one of our members didn't do probably the best thing at the fire tactically. And we gathered around the rig and we were looking at the building, talking about when we arrived, the size up what he saw, what the OV did, what the chauffeur did. And one guy could have made a better choice. And instead of him saying, hey, that was stupid, because we are human beings. We hate to be, I'm stupid, hey, all right, that was okay, but look at the whole picture. If you looked at the other exposure, you had a much better shot. So remember, next time, glance back. He didn't say, hey, stupid, he handled it much better. I always, if a guy makes a screw up, hey, I've done it as an officer. I've apologized to my guys. Hey, guys, I'm sorry. That's what I sized up. I went for it.
Right.
It happens. It's the fire service.
It's difficult. Yeah.
But like you said, taking that experience from leaders ahead of you that said, wow, that works.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said the other day, it was funny you were saying about a leader. I was doing a leadership class the other day, and that thing, if a guy does screw up and you go up in your office and you got an intercom, send Fireman Smith up to my office now. That's the wrong way to handle a problem, because in the kitchen, Smitty's going up to the captain's office or the lieutenant's. Hey, just stop upstairs for a minute. I want to talk to you. That's all, just off the cuff. Hey, when you get a second, I just want to talk to you. They say, hey man, what happened over there? And handle it just you and him. I don't have to have the office door closed, but hey, what did you see when you get there?
Well, you're right, and I think it's always best to give them an opportunity to explain their actions before you give them the correction, because
sure.
They'll be on the defensive if you hit them over the head pretty hard, and maybe you won't find out what the root cause is. Might be there's something else we have to drill on with this firefighter, or they just missed something.
Right.
And
it's funny you were just saying that. We had a situation with a real young officer coming in, and they caught a multiple alarm, and one of the guys said, hey, we like to do this specific thing for this, and well, I really don't know. And the guy's like, well, this is one of our SOPs for our company. This is what we sort of do. And, they're like, boss, he didn't want to budge on this. And, I'm like, that's a difficult situation. But, maybe there was another boss working with you. If you had two companies or a fire floor chief, they'd say, chief, can we do this? Like, oh, yeah, great idea. We're not doing it yet. I know it's hard to step above your officer, but with a young guy, maybe just fresh being promoted.
well, that's kind of like, I don't know what it was, obviously, but you have to be a little flexible. You have to know that you're working in a house that's not yours, and they might do things a little differently, and this works for them. And most fire departments allow for variations. New York City does, in their hose loads and things like that. There's variation. It's up to the captain how they want to proceed on a lot of that. And some people might come from a different part of the city and not be used to that. That's something you have to figure out. And a new officer, I could see that. A senior officer, they've probably seen both methods and would have said, yeah, all right, that's a good one. I know of that thing. That's the other thing. Time allows experiences to accumulate. And, I always feel there's no substitute for it. And I would think most of the people that are in active fire companies think the same way.
Right.
Now, of course, you can be in a place where you don't get a lot of experiences. That's true. So you have to increase your reading so that you can get those experiences somehow into your head. How did they handle this? Read more books, and that's for all of us. We do that. And come to classes, come to FDIC and get the big experience. And, there's so many classes here that you're going to have a problem trying to figure out which one you want to attend. But that's the beauty of FDIC. I tweeted that out today, actually, and I'll give my Twitter out and my email, and I'll let Mike do what he wants to. If you go to Twitter, I'm at LT Ray Mac, and of course it's Ray McCormack. You can look it up either way. And my email is FIRENY, like in New York, men, at AOL.com. And I always give that in my class presentations, and I'm not doing as much tweeting as I might normally do. We're keeping a very busy schedule here. It's tough to do the social media here because you just really you have no time for it. It's crazy.
you know, even when we had the hot days, I mean, you're up at 5 o'clock, you're in the lobby, or I'm sorry, at 6 o'clock, you're having breakfast. 60, 80 guys eating breakfast in the Hampton Inn, and then all of a sudden we're in the vans and see you at 5 or 6 o'clock tonight,
Yeah,
brothers.
your day goes fast, and you can't, you know, you got other things to worry about besides taking pictures, and you know, that's why they have the FDIC staff that goes around, and they have a great social media department here, because they want to push the show. They help us out. They take great photographs. They put out good information so we can put it on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and put it all out there, which is wonderful. That's what we're doing today here. And I can't wait for the show floor to open up. I mean, I just saw, I don't know, but I just saw the biggest fire truck I ever saw in my life, and I want to see that again up close.
Oh, in the back parking lot?
Yeah, in the back parking lot today, yeah. So, and I heard we might be getting one of those, so I'm definitely interested in looking at that.
I heard that there's some big announcements. I mean, FDIC is known for the brand new, this is the place you bring it.
Oh, yeah.
And you open up with it here. And like you said, I mean, not to say I'm not going to look at the engines. I'll look at the trucks a little bit more. I'll go by the engines. I'll look at the low hose.
I know they scare you.
Yeah.
It's okay.
You know, but I just like going by that truck stuff and seeing things that work for us. And that
No, I mean, you know, firefighter feedback is important. You know, we talk about fire trucks, and Mike obviously knows more about fire trucks than I'll ever know. But there are some issues that you see working every day with fire trucks, and we look here and see how they're leaning, how things have changed a little bit. And they love feedback from experienced firefighters, because they want to make a product that satisfies the community they serve. You know,
if it's less maintenance issues, or if it's not broken off the rig because of improper placement of a light on the top of a cab when a tower ladder swings by, everybody's saving money.
Yeah, we had one of the major manufacturers at our class a couple of years back, and the aerial ladder went to the roof, and they wanted to know, how could we improve this getting off the roof and the last section, the fly section of their aerial ladder. And our instructors didn't hold back. They gave them what they wanted, and then a couple of years later, they saw some changes that mimicked what they had talked about. So it's a good experience for us. We like sharing our knowledge with the manufacturers. We like getting products from them that we can field test for them, whether we're training with them or, you know, it might be something that goes to your fire department officially. And this place has it all.
Just on that, Alkalite was very kind, and they sponsored an instructor dinner. That was the first for us on Sunday night.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Beautiful little reception for us. We go there and we just get the ground rules about being an instructor. About 250 guys in a room. We go over some things and how the week's going to proceed. And afterwards, the manufacturer had a little beautiful buffet dinner for us, which was great. But, you know, we're out here killing ourselves, so to get a free meal is not too bad. And I was sitting there talking. I used to do a portable ladder class here at FDIC for a long time. And we were just discussing a lot of different things. And he was allowed to come out to our site, and he watched a bunch of stuff. And while we were out on break there at the site, he's like, wow, you have a lot of street smart ideas. You're right, he said. And three of the things we spoke to him about portable ladders, he just said, right, why hasn't anybody told us that we could do that, he said. Like, that's what they were looking for. You know, guys that have used the product, maybe tweaked it a little bit, nice, beautiful alteration. And, you know, right away, he said, I'm looking into it. One of the things that
you have to take it off the fire truck to know what it does.
Right.
So, and unfortunately, a lot of people in the fire service don't want to take their hose off the rig. They don't want to take their ladders off the rig. They just think what's there is the best, and that's not necessarily true.
No, exactly. Or, you know, you pull that ladder off and it's tied up like the Queen Mary with the halyard wrapped around 1,000 times, you know. So, but yeah, he was very into what I had to say. Again, it wasn't just me. A couple of the other instructors were there, but that's nice to hear from a firefighter standpoint. Like, wow, I got this much time on the job. I could make a difference down the road, make somebody else's job easier.
That's what FDIC is all about, right?
That's what it's not about egos and this and that. It's about making our next generation stronger, smarter, better than us.
I agree.
You know?
For Mike and myself and Erich, I'd like to thank you for joining us on today's broadcast live from FDIC. We're gonna have a great time here. If you can ever get out here, do so, and keep firing your life. And we'll see you on the next radio show. Thank you.